Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Monday, October 16, 2023 Granville County Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you for being here tonight. If we want to have the invocation now and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Jimmy Gooch.
Would you please join me in prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day and all the many blessings you've allowed us to enjoy. Thank you for this opportunity to serve our county. Please lead and guide us to make the best possible decision for all the citizens of Granville County. Bless all of us here tonight, all of our citizens and all the employees of Granville County. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Cozart is not here tonight. He had other matters to attend to. Our prayers are with him, and he sends his, he wished he could be here, but was unable to be here. Before we begin our meeting, I would like to just make a comment in regards to the violence and the terrorist attack in Israel. I'd like for this body, if it doesn't object, to a moment of silence for the nation of Israel and the citizens lost in the horrific terrorism attack. In my estimation, it's terrorism, it's evil, and it should be condemned without exception. We are an exceptional nation, and I'm thankful that we stand behind them. Gentlemen, ladies, if we could now have a moment of silence for the nation of Israel and our men and women that have been called to stand by. Thank you, and thank you, God, for their protection of our men and women who may have to go in harm's way to help with such a horrific act of terrorism. Bless our country, protect our country, protect us from terrorism, protect us from evil. Help us to come together, God, at this most difficult time. Help us to serve our country, and not only our country, but our county, with all that we can and all we can do. In your name, amen. Amen. Board, you have the consent agenda. You had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Jay moves to approve, second by Commissioner Karan. Williford, excuse me. We're going to have that again tonight, huh? Yeah, they're tuned pretty good tonight. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. We now, if we could, have the county manager present the next item on the agenda, item 6, the introduction of the DSS director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I could ask Ms. Toussaint to come down front. It gives me incredible pleasure to announce our new DSS director this evening, Ms. LaToya Davenport Toussaint. We did a nationwide search using developmental associates. We had dozens of qualified candidates, and she really rose to the top. For the benefit of the audience, I want to read a little bit of the press release that went out last week about Ms. Toussaint. Toussaint comes to Granville County with more than 17 years of experience in human services in North Carolina and Florida, both in the public and private sector. Her career has been dedicated to serving the community through advocacy and leadership by representing the most vulnerable members of our population. Most recently, Toussaint served as the Senior Deputy Director of Health and Human Services in Wake County, where she oversaw administration and operations. Prior to her time in Wake County, she spent several years in Florida as a Human Services Administrator with Broward County in the Miami metropolitan area. In Broward County, she was responsible for the development and oversight of the $20 million county-funded Children's Services System of Care, which was delivered through a range of contracted public and private partnerships. Earlier in her career, Toussaint held various leadership roles in the private sector across Florida within child welfare, early childhood education, and mental and behavioral health programs. Toussaint began her career in child welfare as a case manager for the Florida Department of Children and Families, working directly with children who were victims of abuse and neglect, and managing various programs for lead community-based care agencies in foster care and adoption. Her time in Florida allowed her to collaborate with agencies across the state, along with a diverse group of community providers. She also served on local as well as statewide committees and work groups that continue to influence decision-making across Florida. She has been a national peer reviewer with the Council on Accreditation since 2018, was recognized by Nonprofits First of Palm Beach County as a rising leader in 2016, and honored on Legacy Magazine's 40 Under 40 list of recognized professionals from across Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties in 2017. Ms. Toussaint is a native of Jacksonville, Florida, and holds a bachelor's degree in health science and a dual master's degree in public administration and nonprofit management from the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. She recently relocated to North Carolina in 2022 with her husband Curtis, along with their 8-month-old son, Austin, of whom I've seen some very cute pictures. So that's the official version, and you can tell that she's extremely well qualified to lead this department, and I'm frankly just amazed and happy that we were able to land her. I was thinking about what I wanted to say about her coming on here, and I think this is really true of any DSS director, but it really is an awesome responsibility that you are shouldering up as a director of a Department of Social Services. I mean, here we have over 100 employees, and you'll be their director, but I also think, you know, on behalf of the county and the state, you are assuming some, and in some cases, all responsibility for the most vulnerable people in our county, and making sure that many thousands of other folks have the supports they need to thrive. And it's hard to imagine a more serious and weighty responsibility. And I'm just thrilled that you've chosen to join us, and I look forward to working with you to strengthen the work of our DSS department and the health and well-being of the residents of this county. With that, I would like to invite any other commissioners who have any comments they'd like to share them. And I'm also going to invite Ms. Wilma Moore to come down and follow the commissioners as a member of the Board of Department of Social Services to also offer any comments she might wish. So, commissioners, back to you.
Well, I thank you, County Manager. We searched high and low, and this young lady really does have the skills that we need in Granville County to help the people who are truly in need. And I'm just so proud to have her as our new director. Thank you.
Mr. J.
I'd just like to say, welcome to Granville County. Welcome to the board of our team here at Granville County, help serving the people here in Granville County. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Look forward to working with each and every one of you as well.
I couldn't hear.
Thank you. Look forward to working with each and every one of you as well.
Ma'am, Ms. Moore, you...
On behalf of the board, we just love to say, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We love you. We trust that you're going to do a good job. We know that you will.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that you love us as much as we love you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? I would like to say on behalf of the board that, again, your credentials are impressive. And again, I want to commend the county manager, the social service board headed by Commissioner Hinman, and Dr. Cozart, and I think Mr. J, I think do you serve on that board as well? No. Yeah, they'd gladly take. Well, we're working on that. But at the end of the day, as we have made a number of hires of late that that are quite impressive, and we are shifting focus to run an efficient and robust county government that can meet the needs of a growing and needy county. And you are the newest addition, and we are thankful for you, and we look forward to helping you as a board any way that we can for you to achieve the success that you need. And all the best to you, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for providing me this opportunity. I'm so excited to work with all of you, the commissioners, and with the community to continue the good work that we do here in this county. Thank you.
But before you sit down, I almost neglected, but not quite, to read a comment from Commissioner Cozart, who was very sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but is the third and missing member of the DSS board. He's in Charlotte this week, and says, please share my congratulations with Mrs. Toussaint. I welcome you to Granville County. Please accept my apologies for not being present for your swearing in. Thank you for assuming leadership of our DSS. I'm confident that your skills and experience will help make our department even stronger than what it is today. You have my full support as you begin this awesome journey. Best wishes.
Thank you.
So, again, welcome. We're so happy to have you, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next item is item 7, the Granville County ABC board update, and I'd like to ask Ms. Connie Smith, the general manager, to provide the commissioners at this time an update.
Okay, thank you.
Would you?
Mr. Chairman, County Manager, and County Commissioners, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this report to you all. Granville County ABC revenue for the last 5 years, 2018 through 2019, the gross was $4,708,341. Our net sales were $3,636,826. That was up 9% over the previous year. 2019 through 2020, our gross sales were $5,299,785,000. The net sales were $4,099,174, which was 13% up over the previous year. 2021, our gross sales were $6,042,790. Our net sales were $4,673,705, which was up 14% over the previous year. 21 and 22, our gross sales were $6,223,908. Our net sales were $4,806,703, which was up 15% over the previous year. For year 22-23, our gross sales were $656,251, and our net sales were $5,142,728, which was up 7% from the previous year. Revenue given to the county for 2018 and 19 was $158,169.40, and that is that's from profits, after everything comes out. Alcohol education for that is a 7%. Law enforcement is 5%. 2019, 2020 was $194,783. 2020-21 was $236,073.80. 21-22 was $238,864.80. And 2022-2023 was $232,043. We currently employ 9 full-time people, 10 part-time people. We are in the process of building a new store in Oxford. We're hoping that it'll be finished by the end of March this year, or next year. Due to the current construction project, projected revenue is not projected to increase very much, as we will be paying for a new building. But we do have future plans that include a new location to be placed in the southeast Granville corner of Granville. There was a study done in North Carolina, and Granville County is projected to show great growth in the next few years. And that's why we feel we need to place that there. I'm
Board,
finished.
do you have any further, ma'am?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you very much. Any commissioners have questions?
I have one quick question. At the bar graph here with the total revenue transfer to Granville County, you mentioned a percentage for the sheriff's department, and I think you said talk it out, or the schools, alcohol education.
The alcohol education is 7% of profits.
So those are always the same. So what are the breakdown on those percentages? How much goes to the sheriff's department? How much to
Alcohol
schools?
education for 2019 was 18,000.
Not so much the number, the percent, not so much the actual dollar amount, but is it a set percentage?
It is a set percentage. Alcohol education is 7% of profits.
Okay.
And the law enforcement is 5% of profits.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Only talk about what you talk about, let's say talk it out.
Yes, that is part of the alcohol education. We buy bags that are printed, have Talk It Out printed on it, and that is also part of the alcohol education money.
Oh, okay. That's why.
I just want to say thank you very much for what you're doing.
We appreciate it. We work really hard trying to make sure that we follow the rules and make as much profit as we can for the county.
So has there been any discussion by the board where out in the southeast part of the county this new store would go?
We are looking at a couple of different places, but until we have actually purchased something, I would just as soon not say.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, that's kind of a board issue,
Yeah.
but I'll be glad to talk to you about it.
No, that's fine. I'm fine. For the record, the board knows my stance on the ABC store, and it's not a positive stance, and I appreciate what they do in regards to the revenue coming, but I'm not a partaker, and nor am I a judger. But thank you for what you do, and thank you. It does provide a means of funding to education, which is very important. And hopefully, Sheriff, are you getting what you need from that? Is it providing you what you need? And what about in regards to our school system? Do they get any of this?
We give our alcohol education to the county, and they distribute it for us.
Okay, got it.
And so, yes, the school system does get it.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
It was mandated about 4 or 5 years ago by the ABC Commission in Raleigh that each board, 5% goes into education So we give it through the county, and the county in turn takes it to the school board. And then they are responsible for the spending and of the documentation, Mr. County Manager, that comes back on how it was spent.
Okay, very good.
And the state has alcohol education programs that they will come and put on at grade schools, fifth,
All the
sixth,
way through high
all
school.
schools, all the way through high schools.
Good.
And I'd like to take a second and commend Connie for the job she's done. She came to us about 6 years ago.
Almost 8.
8 years. Wow, time flies. From Durham County, and has done an excellent job for the county. We're glad to have her.
Any other commissioners? Thank you, Ms. Smith, for providing us the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If I now could have AJ, if you could, AJ Spiess, Veteran Service Officer, come and provide us an update on the Veterans Affairs Committee and Veteran Services update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and County Manager for your time. Next slide, please. So what I'm talking about right here is the Veteran Affairs events that the county has had. We're one of few counties in North Carolina with the advantage of having a Veterans Affairs Committee. These are the past events all the way back to November 22, I'm sorry. And they come through March 22. These are all the ones that we've done since November. And as you see, it's quite a few if you count the months up. Next slide, please. These are the upcoming events that'll take us all the way out to March, the ones that we are tracking now to be involved with, whether it's a float in the parade, whether it's setting up a booth, passing out information, talking to veterans, trying to give them the right resource, or just thanking them for their service for the Veterans Appreciation Day. The Veterans Committee does a lot for the county. They really help me a lot with networking throughout the county and reaching out to the places that a lot of veterans go. And I think it's a good source that we have here. Next slide, please. Also, these are some of the county, the affairs community relations. They not only go to the events and do things, they do pantry donations to various organizations, ACIM, Granville County Senior Center, Butner National Guard, and also during the holidays do something for the veterans as well that don't have that Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner like we used to have in the military. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas, normally somebody would be given a free turkey, things like that. They try to collect money to put that together for them as well. 2 support groups 6 times a month for veterans and spouses. They help veterans through the community with the referrals. They have different referrals through this meetings. The meetings are held at a minimum of 6 times a month. Sometimes they're 8 times a month. Next slide, please. Operation Greenlight. This is the second year for Operation Greenlight. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the National Association of Counties released a new resolution for this year for Operation Greenlight. It's from the 6th to 12th of November. Encourages citizens to place a green light in the windows of their business or residence. This shows the Granville County and its citizens support the veterans, appreciate the sacrifices the veterans have made throughout the service, protecting this country and those in it. Not sure if the commissioners know, less than 1% of America actually serves in the military. So a very small portion, but a great sacrifice that some have gave. At this time, I respectfully request the Granville County Board of Commissioners approve the Operation Greenlight 2023 in support of our veterans and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the county commissioners. In your packets, the resolution. Comparison to last year, it may look different than last year. The verbiage did not change much. They broke up one of the bullet points and they took out one of the numbers. Other than that, it's basically the same resolution as last year. We just need to get a current copy of this year's resolution signed and posted.
Board, what's pleasure, board?
Moves that we adopt the resolution.
Commissioner Group? Who's second? Commissioner J. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner, the reason I got a delay, what I'm trying to do is get your name so that for the record, it makes it easier for those transcribing. So it, just give me a little pause and before we second, it'll help me, just determine who's making the other motion. And it allows, the clerk to be able to identify in the record since there's no visual yet, but coming. So thank you.
Sir, I'd just like to let everyone know that you can buy green lights at Ace Hardware. Not that I'm trying to plug a certain store, but that's where I bought mine this year. So there are green lights for anybody and everybody to support this. So thank you.
Thank you. We did vote on that, did we not? Okay, very good. So you have that.
All right, thank you.
I'll sign that motion with the clerk and you'll have it ready.
Thank you. And also for the county lighting, this year we've taken, myself and Gary from maintenance have gone around and started looking at different things we could do each year to add to the Operation Greenlight for the buildings throughout the county.
Good.
So
Thank you. Well, why don't you tell them a little bit about what we did for Sergeant Leon Thornton?
Sergeant Leon Thornton was a veteran of this county. He was one of 2 Silver Cross medalists. He gave his life to save his platoon commander, as well as a couple other soldiers. He got engaged in a gunfight with 2 other VCs, killed them, but unfortunately he died in the meanwhile. His family never received the Silver Cross. His mom and dad had passed away, and all that was left was his siblings. So Chairman Russ May went and engaged with one of his sisters, and we were able to rewrite the award. I reached out to a friend of mine still in the military, and they delivered it down here from Virginia, requested the Silver Cross from DC, and we were able to present the family, the remaining siblings, nieces, nephews. They did an actual family event where more of them were there, probably about 40 of them, I'd say. And they were all very pleased with it and had that closure that they never had in their life. You know, unfortunately, times have changed, but somebody that sacrifices everything like that, no time can change that. So.
And I'd like to commend you, AJ, for the work that you did on that. The family was very grateful. One of the highest honors of my lifetime was to be with that family and to bring closure to that family. Family members came that evening with many stories on how their loved one had died. But the reality of we were able to, through the citation, which was in the National Archives that we located, was able to describe, and for the Silver Star, that information has to be corroborated. Not simply one person stating it, but corroborated by more than one person. And it was done. He was a winner of the Silver Star, and because of that, the family now knows how their loved one had passed and died and killed in action. And a very honorable, and his nickname was Bull, Little Bull, from Berea, and and a wonderful family. I will tell you, it's a blessing. The county the family did not want a big media event. They're okay with me. Everything that we've done, we asked the family permission to do. We've not done anything without them knowing. And so they're okay with us speaking about it, but we wanted to give them the honor and the privilege to have that private ceremony, and they did it at a family reunion. They brought his picture, they set it on the mantle, and it was a special moment. AJ, thank you, and thank you for the major that came down from the adjunct office or TRADAC, I believe, to take care of that, and appreciate your hard work that you do with the Veterans Affairs Committee. Any other questions for Mr. Spiess here?
I'd like to make a comment. I was able to attend that day, and it was one of the most emotional. There was not a dry eye in the room. And I think we owe Chairman May, he was the one that got the ball rolling. Everyone had contributed, but it was due his diligence that this family got closure. And a nephew came up from New Jersey that said he never knew how his uncle died. He never knew until that day.
Well, thank you. And we have some tremendous veterans in Granville County. We have 2 Silver Star winners. We have multiple Bronze Star and other Silver Star winners from previous wars. Vietnam took 13 of our young men. As many of you know, it was a forgotten war, a war in which none of the soldiers were celebrated when they came home. They sacrificed their lives. It's the youngest generation of soldier other than World War II that's ever committed to the battlefield. Life expectancy was not very long for an infantry soldier. Significant number of minorities served during the war. And so we're not finished with Mr. Thornton's track. We'll be doing some more things to see how we can further honor his memory and his family. So again, I just wanted to give you and your staff the recognition that you deserve. I greatly appreciate the effort you did. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chairman, I just also just like to say that too. What Thornton was a graduate of Geothermal High School.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with most of all of his siblings. And thank you on behalf of the total alumni. Thank you.
I know we talked about it a lot, but it's just that moving of a story. He was absolutely a stunning, good-looking man. And the reason I say that is that he was one of 11 children, and it was a farming family, and they didn't have much. And this is 1967. He was sold out to the military. He loved being a soldier. He was in the airborne. He was an infantryman. He was Little Bull, and there was another guy in his platoon called Big Bull. They both died in action. And I just, the reason I said that about his looks was that his sisters called him an angel. And I can't help but think about his brother Charles, because Charles is his older brother, and every time we talked about Leon's looks, Charles just bowed his head, because Charles knows I mean this in love, but there was a strikingly difference. It was Mr. Leon was a really announced just really a striking soldier in his uniform. So sorry to belabor on that, but it's a special Granville County story that needs to be told, and you helped. So thank you.
Yes. Chairman and Commissioners, that's all I have for you.
AJ, do we have any events this weekend, or are most of the events coming up on the 28th and on the 11th?
28th.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What's that? I think that's on the 11th. Okay. Yeah.
Good.
November 11th, I think, is the Butner ceremony. Am I correct?
November 11th, there's a lot of ceremonies. I haven't got all of them firmed yet. They have one in STEM, it's a 3-holiday parade. They got one in Creedmoor, which is a breakfast. The one in Oxford, the breakfast, they have not firmed up yet. There was a little separation between the two groups that did it at the senior center. So don't know about that one yet. And then post 90, I haven't got anything from them yet.
But thankful to the Butner Creedmoor News and the Oxford Ledger. The Oxford Ledger has what's called the Veterans Corner, I believe, and the Butner Creedmoor News is always good about posting events like that, and all those papers will be announcing all the upcoming veterans events. And this board strongly supports our veterans, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. J.
I would just like to say, please, I hope everybody get in contact with each other. We only one. We 7 people, but we only one. We love to attend each and every function, but we can't attend each other function and all of them jam together. So please, spread them out. I'll add y'all on distro and send you everything I have.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Now if we could have Elliot Clark with Vaya. Elliot, provide us an update, and if you would, for the sake of the community that's here tonight, just give a brief overview of who Vaya is and what Vaya does.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. County Manager. Thank you for this opportunity. Again, Elliot Clark with Vaya Health. We are your local management entity and managed care organization that manages behavioral health care for the citizens in Granville County that depend on the public system for that service. We, as Vaya, operate just in the state of North Carolina. We cover 31 counties in the state. My particular region focuses on Granville, Vance, Franklin, and Person County. And I have been lucky enough to work in Granville County now for 8 years in that role. It's hard to believe, but it's true. We cover, specifically, we're a carve-out plan that manages Medicaid and state funds. And the way Medicaid is transforming in the state right now, it's important to kind of distinguish us from other commercial insurance providers that manage Medicaid as well. So we are, what we specialize in is covering the most significant cost and acuity of folks that live with mental health needs, substance use disorders, and intellectual developmental disabilities. So that's who we are, that's what we do, and we're lucky to do it. So tonight before you, and I just wanted to recognize briefly, in this presentation we'll talk a little bit about partnerships. That was a tough presentation to follow, by the way. But I do want to recognize AJ and his department and some of the new partnerships we're forming there. We were lucky enough to participate in the Health and Wellness Fair last weekend, I guess it's weekend before last now, and just connecting some of those folks with local behavioral health resources, peer-driven services, things that, where you can just sit and talk with folks that are particularly interested in that type of thing, that have that service, was a blessing for us. So I appreciate you including us in that. So for tonight, we'll go through some updates. I'll start with some broad updates, and I will draw your attention. You do have a little bit more of a detailed presentation that includes a dashboard in your packet. But if I might draw your attention to your screens in front of you, you've got a little bit more of a condensed presentation that hits some highlights. And the information in your packet can serve as a good reference for some of those data points. But we'll be going through a much more detailed presentation as far as service provision and volume of services in Granville County when we have a full year of data. And that should come at the next quarterly presentation. So in the state of North Carolina, as many of you have probably heard, Medicaid is changing rapidly and expanding, finally, I might add. We were very encouraged in the most recent approved budget to see a substantial investment from the state of North Carolina in behavioral health in particular. Out of the grand $30 billion budget, $835 million has been dedicated towards improving behavioral health services to go towards the population. And out of that fund, we hope to be able to continue to improve some of the services that we actually see here in this county. You guys also probably know that effective on December 1st, Medicaid will expand. For our particular health plan, that's going to be a small addition to what we currently manage. Most of the folks that have those most significant developmental disabilities, mental illnesses, and substance use disorders are already members of ours, are either on Medicaid or are funded partially by state funds. What we expect to see most significantly as far as the expansion of Medicaid and the impact on what we manage is for substance use disorder services. A lot of the folks that we manage right now rely on our state funds that are referred to as single stream funds, which unfortunately in the state have been cut year after year. This is one of the first years I've actually seen in my 20 years in the field where that stream of funding is not budgeted to be cut. So those are really good things happening in our state and in our county right now. One of the other areas that I'll hit on briefly that's part of Medicaid transformation is part of the Healthy Opportunities pilot. Granville County in particular is not a part of that pilot in the here and now that will last for 3 years, but there are some non-clinical services that we offer which are referred to as social determinants of health, okay? What that means is kind of your bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, food, shelter, very basic needs that help drive health outcomes eventually for folks. What we will be able to do as a health plan is actually use Medicaid funds to be able to pay for those services for the first time in this state. For our county in Granville, we're not waiting on that Healthy Opportunities pilot to go live and expand to this county. We're pursuing grant funds and some federal grant funds that will address housing insecurity and food insecurity in the county. And one I wanted to draw your attention to that we'll be sharing more information about when it actually goes live, but it's called the Back at Home grant. And what that does is help folks bridge from mental health institutions, group homes, into their own independent living situations, where they can receive some funding to help them get their feet underneath them, get situated in their own independent living situation, and get some treatment, some services that are actually coming to them to help them succeed. Uh-oh. Thanks, Drew. Within Medicaid transformation, and another area that will go live actually next year is the tailored plan. Basically what that means, I won't spend a great deal of time talking through the details there, but what that means that on July 1st of next year, the state's approved LME MCOs to operate as what's called a tailored plan so that we can help pay for not just behavioral health care, but we can take our specialized population that struggles with those 3 domains and pay for whole health for them. That means we can incentivize providers to offer more and more that will hopefully generate better health outcomes for them. So physical health care, pharmacy benefits will all be a part of what we can now manage and make sure that that person is getting the full package of what they're entitled to under that health benefit through Medicaid. That particular part of Medicaid transformation has been delayed twice, but we now have a secured date from the state and feel confident that July 1st is when that's actually going to go live. Vaya Health, if I may dote on ourselves for just a second, we're the top LME MCO in the state as far as tailored plan readiness. That means we have the most adequate network of services for folks when they transition over into that tailored plan. We've also made some significant investments upgrading our services so that we can pay claims to providers and that they can have a seamless transition when they come under our management. Thank you, Drew. Part of what we'll be able to cover as well as a tailored plan are some perks, some value-added services. I won't read through all of these, but some of them touch on some of those social drivers of health that I was mentioning. One of the ones that I think is probably the most significant on here is around assistance with transportation. Currently, a lot of our members rely on non-emergent medical transportation in this county through carts to access their health services. But when they need help getting to the grocery store or to the pharmacy or to their job, a lot of those resources are very limited. And luckily, some of the flexibilities we'll have as a health planner to incentivize providers and actually provide resources to our members to aid in transportation so that they can access other parts, very important parts of their life. We'll go ahead and advance again, Drew. Thank you. All right, so getting into some local updates that we have going on, some priorities that we have in the county, and some projects. Over the last year, probably what's taken most of our time is focusing on improving our crisis system. For many years, not just in Vance County, but in this region, we've really struggled in good coverage for services like mobile crisis and a facility where people can go, where our law enforcement can carry folks that have a mental health crisis, that is just another option where they can actually get connected with care and not cycle through the acute setting and through our criminal justice system over and over. We do have a new mobile crisis provider that's been up and running actually since May in the county. They're a team of 7 staff that serve this area, that have staff that actually live in this area and know the resources, and have been doing a great job thus far. RHA Health Services is the name of that new mobile crisis provider. We're excited to continue to have them. We remain with a little bit of a gap right now as far as a facility to be able to offer as a diversion site from our hospital for folks that are in a mental health crisis or that are in need of detoxing from certain substances. As of March of this year, we had a small facility up in Henderson, a 10-bed facility that closed. And through that time, we've really tried to figure out how we can align with our law enforcement agencies and hospitals to help address their increase in volume. Mobile crisis is one of those ways, but we flat out just need a place that folks can go. We need that facility back up and running. I'll talk a little bit about and give you a highlight on the actual property that we have that we're in negotiations on, forming a regional diversion center. That diversion center is actually going to be in Henderson. For our region, for Franklin, Granville, and Vance, Henderson is kind of the hub and the center of that geography and population density that we feel like we might be able to get the best bang for our buck, if you will. But we haven't stopped there. We've instituted, as many of you know and have come and helped actually welcome this new provider in Oxford. We do have a walk-in center that's in Oxford that for folks, at least during business hours, can walk in if they're in a crisis or without an appointment and access care. And that's Vision Behavioral Health Services in Oxford. But for this regional diversion center, we have a 31,000 square foot facility on Dabney Drive that we're drawing up plans and in the final stages of negotiation on a lease for. If you will, I don't know if this is going to look better on your screen or in your packet, but this is, thank you, Drew. This is a schematic of the actual space that we're building out. This facility will house not just a 16-bed facility-based crisis and non-hospital detox, but it'll also house a behavioral health urgent care. If you think about an urgent care where you might go if you're having flu-like symptoms or sick and can't, make an appointment, that's a place where folks can walk in and actually stay for 1 day to become assessed and get linked to treatment if they're not appropriate to stay multiple days. This facility will also have an integrated pharmacy, a comprehensive outpatient clinic, and a peer living room, which is an open space for folks to come in, do anything from fill out job applications to network with other peers that might be there going through some of the same needs that they're going through. And if you will, just looking at this design, the light purple area at the bottom right is going to be the main entrance and waiting area. And then to the right, that kind of plum looking color there to the right, or as you go up from walking through that door, that will be the facility-based crisis. That's where we're going to have our first phase. We're addressing this through a phased approach so we can go ahead and restore some of that capacity more quickly than building out the entire facility at once. The timeline that we have on this, our goal is to complete the lease in October and begin construction this year. That will be a large project. We're looking at about a $4.5 million upfit cost to lift this facility up. We are currently awaiting for approval from the Department of Health and Human Services within that grand budget that we now have in our state to tap into some of that and see if we can help get some contribution and lift this, get some capital funding to lift this up with the state. But that will be a very grand project. We estimate that the entire construction could take a year to lift. So in the meantime, we have a facility that was our old facility in Henderson, that 10-bed facility, that will become available in January. And if we need to, lean back into them to reopen that facility while this is being built. So we're estimating that within 2 months, we'll have at least that facility-based crisis in Henderson that was existing back up and running. So within some of our other updates and kind of areas of focus outside of the crisis continuum is with our friends over at DSS. And excited to have been introduced to the new director. Look forward to working with her. And we hold our partnership with DSS very dear. It's very important for us to stay in lockstep because we're treating the same folks. But some of the areas that we focused on recently have been around how to better serve those that are in the foster care system. We've had a partnership with an agency, Benchmarks, that's offered just some education and some guidance as far as permanency planning and the pathway to permanency and wrapping treatment around those youth. It's a system now that is in dire need. We do not have enough capacity for foster families or facilities for youth to go that are in that type of a crisis. So we need to make that a priority, need to continue that as a priority. A very small area of progress that we're making just to assist in the challenges that we're having in placement are to try and alleviate some of the cost and some of the burden that DSS and the county are bearing right now in housing some of those youth that are awaiting placement. I'm sure all of us have heard about stories with kids on couches, I think is the way the news article read. And none of our counties in this region have been immune to that situation. And we've met recently with DSS leadership about some of those specifics. So we're tapping in using some of our resources that were previously allocated to our crisis system and helping to reimburse and cover some of those costs that DSS are incurring in that situation. Another area of focus for us is going to be focused on our school-based services. We're happy to have some participation within our System of Care Collaborative with the school system, focused in on not just school-based counseling, but services for our youth that are struggling with intellectual developmental disabilities that can't get the interventions comprehensively that they need there within the schools. So just to highlight, and we can go ahead and advance, Drew. Thank you. So that partnership is very important to us. Granville County Schools has been a good partner, and we're looking forward to that continued work. And I would not do justice without recognizing our health department. We have 5 different projects that are live with them that they are managing, that we're in close, that we are either a formal partner on or just a partner by default. But they're all geared towards, all of these projects right here are geared towards improving behavioral health services in the county. The Thrive grant, which I know you've heard a little bit about, is the most recent partnership that we have with them that we helped apply for, and that was awarded. We're very excited about that. That will focus on school-aged youth. In addition to that, of course, our opioid settlement, our Stepping Up initiative, which I must commend our sheriff. We met recently and heard some of the goals that you have within the detention center for that population on improving some of the situations that they're in. And we just look forward to that partnership with you and helping them transition into the community, get linked with care, and not show back up. So the Stepping Up initiative is something very important to this region, and we look forward to carrying that forward. And then just another brief recognition for Granville County DSS. We continue to have our embedded care manager with that department. And I think that that's going well. We stay in constant contact with that department. And her primary role has been solutioning around looking for placement for youth that need placement in the foster care setting. But we're also looking at continuing our partnership with our single point of assessment provider, Youth Villages, that's been dedicated to working with that department as well. Brief little highlight as far as providers that are operating in Granville County. You'll see that, folks, this is these numbers represent the the third quarter of last fiscal year. So January to March. That represents a quarter that was very new to our new clinic that opened in January. So when we look at numbers that are going to be presented that'll be a full year snapshot, we'll see providers like Vision Behavioral Health Services, which you see about 3/4 of the way down on this list, be towards the top. But right now, a lot of folks are still having to go to Henderson. Well, not right now, but in those months, January to March of this year, folks were still having to travel to Henderson quite a bit. But they were also accessing services with some providers that have been here for a long time. Central Community Services is probably one of those key providers that you should be aware of that have been operating in the county for a good long while. And the last slide I have, Drew, advance one more, and is around our innovations services. There, within the state budget, the innovations waiver addresses specifically the population that I mentioned that has intellectual and developmental disabilities. These are the most significantly affected individuals that are at risk of institutionalization. It keeps people living in their home, keeps people in the community that would otherwise be in a state facility. This waiver is good for life once you have it, and there's not nearly enough of them in the state. There's about almost 20,000 people that are on a wait list in the state of North Carolina for this waiver. And one of the areas that the state could do a little bit more on, although it's good news in the new budget, but an additional 350 waiver slots will be allocated in the new state budget. But for Granville County, we have 65 of those individuals that are on the waiver are in Granville County. 56 of those are on the wait list for that waiver.
What is the average waiting time for that for them? I know it's high.
It is very high. People have waited over 10 years for that waiver.
Kind of explain for the board what an innovation waiver actually is.
Sure. So what used to be considered the Community Alternatives Program, or CAP, is now deemed the Innovations Waiver. And essentially what that means, the waiver portion of it, is that the state waives the financial eligibility to qualify for a Medicaid program so that that individual, their financial situation doesn't prevent them from accessing a level of care that will carry them through and keep them out of an institution. All right. So essentially these are folks that are dependent upon services to remain in the community and live independently. The amount of money that goes into serving this population is very great. Per member, the entire budget that an individual has to spend down is about $165,000 a year. But the cost of care that actually goes into serving one Innovations member is far more than that. It's about 3 times that. In contrast, though, when an individual has to live in a state facility or what we call an ICFMR, which is an intermediate care facility, a much larger group home, that cost of care is much higher. So it's cheaper, it's more efficient, and it's far more beneficial to that individual and their family for them to be on the Innovations waiver so that they can receive the supports they need to live in the community.
So, Elliot, these are individuals that their intellectual disability or physical disability is so bad that they cannot take care of themselves or care for themselves unless they at some point need to be institutionalized. Yet the family is still taking care of them because there's so few slots available, and some wait up to 10 years before they actually can get into an institution or a program. So it is a real need. And when you look at 56 for a county, that's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people.
Families are having to, and some of the financial obligations as well may disqualify the caretakers. So this is a real concern that Mr. Clark and I, and along with individuals with intellectual disabilities, are working and will be working more with the legislators on how we can bridge this gap a little further, along with a large number of our children on IEPs in schools that have intellectual disabilities or are mentally impaired that are never going to, unfortunately, be at the par they need to be, but we're unable to meet their individual needs in the schools. And so finding ways that we can work some legislation to have the appropriate dollars budget, if all possible, to meet that population that is unfortunately overwhelming the system at this point. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
That's all I have. Thank you for your time, and absolutely, thank you.
The upfit for the new 16-bed facility, 4.5 million. Once you have reached funding, what length of time do you think it would take to complete it?
We're estimating almost a year within the entire project. It's hard to say. Some of the negotiations that we're in right now is around rerouting some HVAC, which I never imagined the astronomical cost that's involved with that. Yeah, the entire facility, we're estimating it being at about a year. The facility that we're looking at is essentially a shell. It's an old Big Lots, actually, that's been vacant for years. And we're looking at gutting that and just completely building out that facility.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. But again, we're looking at lifting back up the capacity far before then. That old space that the previous provider used to occupy has been inaccessible to us for the last 7 months. That will become available in January because that previous provider's lease is up. And our goal would be to go back into that facility, put a provider in there so that we can have some operations and get some services back and while we build that facility out.
Will you purchase that or lease it?
It'll be a lease. Long-term lease.
Any other questions, board? I've got one last question. Could you just briefly state vision purpose here in Oxford for the public, please?
For Vision?
Vision's the walk-in clinic.
Absolutely, yeah. So Vision Behavioral Health Services is over at Hilltop Village in Oxford. They operate what we call a walk-in center, which means that at its core, they offer medication management, psychiatric services, outpatient therapy, but they also offer some what we call enhanced benefit services, which means there's a few different ones. One of the biggest ones for that facility that's that's a little unique is their peer services. They have a very large roster of certified peer support specialists that actually includes a few veterans and some bilingual staff that help folks just walk through the course of treatment that have been through it before. But yeah, so the walk-in center component means that an individual could walk into their office during business hours and receive an assessment and get linked with care.
And we're hoping those we can expand some services toward the southern end of the county, along with working on some transportation queues to be able to make sure that service can be easily obtained for people throughout Granville County.
That's correct, yeah. You do have some services already in the Butner-Creedmoor area with Innovative Behavioral Health Services. They offer some outpatient services and substance use disorder specific treatment, but it's not nearly as large of a program. So Visions is a very mobile provider. If they can't come to their office, places that operate like that will go to them. Central Community Services is another provider that has similar services. But yeah, that's the...
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Any further questions from the board? Thank you for coming tonight. Thanks for all you do for us. It's a pleasure working with you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We're now going to move on to our public comments. There was no one signed up for public comments tonight other than the next public hearing. I want to be sure of that. Is there anyone here to speak on something besides what's the text amendment that's coming up in the public hearing? So is there anyone here that would like to speak about anything else that's here to make public comments? With that being said, we'll move on to our next topic. The purpose of the public hearing, we're now into a public hearing. And the purpose of the public hearing is to hear public comments on proposed amendments to the Land Development LDC, Land Development Code LDC that would increase the minimum lot size in a rural cluster subdivision to 40,000 square feet, required a minimum lot width of 85 feet per lot, and change the minimum setbacks in proposed rural cluster subdivisions. I now declare the public meeting open. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Barry Baker with the Planning Director for a brief overview.
Thank you,
Baker.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen. This is a text amendment that would, the proposed amendment that would increase the minimum lot size in a rural major cluster subdivision to 40,000 square feet, require a minimum lot width of 85 feet per lot, and change the minimum setbacks in those major subdivisions, 50-foot front, 15 side, and 25 rear. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. This is a picture from our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan was adopted in October of 2018. In the year of 2019, amendments occurred to implement the land use development recommendations in that comp plan. And first was tackled the zoning component of the land development text amendment. Second was the subdivision component of the land development text amendment. The comprehensive plan asked for, it was adopted after considerable public feedback during that process. It took approximately a year and a half before adoption. It recommended flexibility. It recommended what you see on the screen, a cluster conservation subdivision as an option for rural subdivisions in Granville County, where, and it says it in the comp plan, where there are suitable soils. It also contemplated that there would be larger estate lots in the cluster subdivisions. This text amendment, you will find the written consistency statement from the Planning Board. If adopted, the text amendment would provide flexibility because it will maintain the option to pursue a cluster/conservation subdivision in the unincorporated areas of the county, while also maintaining the option to do a conventional subdivision. A conventional subdivision is one that meets the minimum lot size of 44,000 square feet, has a lot width frontage of 150 feet, the same setbacks as proposed, and a 10% recreation open space. What a cluster subdivision does, if pursued, you can have, if currently, and I will show you at the end of the presentation what the current rules are and what the proposed rules are. But the proposed rules would be that the lots would be 40,000 square foot minimum, 85-foot lot width, and the same setbacks as a conventional subdivision. And currently, the cluster subdivision allows for 30% of open space. I want to state that all public notice as required by local and state law have been accomplished for tonight's hearing. As I've previously stated, rural cluster major subdivisions. This is not applicable to a minor subdivision where you can create up to 8 lots on a state maintained road. If one were to do that, you meet the 44,000 square foot minimum lot size. If it's in AR40, which 95% of the unincorporated county is zoned AR40, and I have 150 foot of road frontage on that state secondary road. It's 250 feet on US and North Carolina highways. But cluster subdivisions are applicable only to major subdivisions, not minor subdivisions, and it's in the ordinance. It states that. They've been allowed in our subdivision regulations since 2019. The planning staff reviewed all major subdivisions, reviewed and approved since the adoption of the regulations, and all of the subdivisions approved have been cluster/conservation subdivisions. Also, to add to the discussion, you'll find statistics regarding the subdivisions that have been submitted to the planning board since the cluster subdivision adoption has occurred, with the minimum lot size, the smallest lot size, and the number of subdivisions that have been indicated, that have indicated a community well. You will find that starting on page 73 of your agenda item, continuing on to page 74 of your agenda items. There have been 16 major subdivisions approved by the planning board since 2019. All 16 were cluster conservation subdivisions. The average lot size among all the subdivisions, subdivided lots in those 16 subdivisions, is 44,208.75 square feet. For approximately the first 3 years or 4 years of that, the open space was 20%. Last year, we adopted a 30% or 10% more, which would be 30% open space. So all these subdivisions that have been approved were with the 20% open space requirement. The smallest lot approved is 18,287 square feet. And 6 of the subdivisions have noted use of community wells, which has caused, as everyone has heard, great consternation among some citizens. Additional background. These are the number of lots approved the last 10 years. You will see 772 lots were approved in the year of 2022. It is more than the preceding 9 months put together. Sir? Probably was 9 years, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Put together. And so that has gotten the attention of the planning board, and the planning board, like the commissioners, have had folks advocate for some subdivision changes. Thank you. Mr. Cummins, next. Thank you. A couple of additional slides are in your on your screen now. What are the current lot size, setbacks, and lot width requirements? When the cluster subdivision regulations were amended, it tied the lot standards and setbacks to our plan unit development table. That's what you see before you. The smallest lot available would be 6,000 square feet with a lot width of 60 feet and then different setbacks. Generally, what has been used in the cluster subdivisions are the single family detached with a lot area of 12,000 and then go across. And so, but those lot sizes are not practical in a rural area where you have no public water and sewer. So you have to have well and septic. And so the lots are not going to be those minimums. Generally, the smallest lot, though the very smallest lot was in one subdivision on Bruce Garner Road, 18,000 square feet. Most of the lots run anywhere from about 28,000, those that are the 32, but again, the average lot size, if you go back, is 44,208 square feet. But practically, what the subdivided lots have been, or generally as small as 28,000 square feet, all the way up to 65,000 square feet. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. The planning board did hold a public hearing. There were about 5 or 6 speakers at that meeting that spoke in favor. The excerpts from their minutes are included in as attachments. They recommended the adoption unanimously 5-0. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Wilford.
Mr. Baker, what is considered suitable soil?
Soils that perk.
Do we have to have 2? How many perkable spots do we have to have in a lot size?
On a lot, you've got to have an area that is the initial perk site, and then you have to have
a secondary.
Okay. That may or may not ever be used,
So
but
2.
is there.
Right.
Yes, so it's 2. And that occurs, that both have to be approved as part of a septic tank permit.
Mr. Karan.
I have a math question. We currently have a 30,000 square foot minimum lot size, is that correct?
No, sir.
Notwithstanding a PUD.
Sir.
Within the rural area, notwithstanding a PUD, do we have a 30,000 square foot minimum lot size?
No, sir. That has just been the practical side of the small side of the lots. The PUD, which the cluster subdivision standards are tied to, would allow something as small as 6,000 square feet, but practically that's not going to occur because you've got to have a well site for those that are going to have individual wells, and you've got to have a septic tank site. And so on the small side, it's not tied to an ordinance or a regulation, but on the small side, 30,000 is generally what the small side lot would be.
Okay, so if the current regulation isn't really tied to anything other than the perkable soils and those kind of things, or if they're being served by a municipal water and sewer source, and we've got lots currently at 19,000 square feet that are within these subdivisions that have been proposed, the new 40,000 square foot minimum would be just as a pie in the sky number as the current standard?
40,000 square foot was proposed because that's what it was several years ago. And generally you can get on a 40,000 square foot lot, a well, an individual well, and an individual septic tank. There's been quite a bit of concern about the use or the possibility of a community well. The community wells, when looking at those 16 subdivisions, 6 of them have stated that they are going to have a community well, generally are the larger in the number of lots that have been proposed. And possibly, well, I'm not a water professional, but the larger number of lots generally is where you've seen the community wells. So if you have 40,000 square feet, potentially you can have individual well and an individual septic tank. Maybe reduce but not the possibility of reducing a community well. And that was discussed.
So based on fact or emotion?
I would say, I don't know that, I can't speak for those folks that have spoke. Maybe they are here tonight. I would say that it's based on concern that, and the experience that we have not seen community wells when lot sizes were 40,000 square foot or more, minimums. That's the best fact that I think that can be stated.
So have we reached out to HHS and DEQ to find out if there are communities in the state of North Carolina whom have large lot sizes, estate home size lots that are on community well, because those folks understand that there's a guarantee that comes with a community well, and that there are basically the same parameters of having a community water supply?
These regulations proposed would not, I mean, someone still has that possibility to do that, just on with 40,000 square, but I'm sure there are probably somewhere in North Carolina estate lots with community wells.
So does this 40,000 square foot minimum completely eliminate the PUD?
It would, the cluster subdivision?
The planned unit development?
No, the planned unit development section of the ordinance still exists as a major special use where there's public sewer. You would see that around where the village of Applewood is, or on the outskirts of a municipality. So no, it would not remove planned unit development as a land use. Planned unit development is around where the public water and sewer are. And that's a major special use like the village of Applewood was.
Want to hear from the public?
Yep.
Mr. Baker,
Yes, sir.
on page 78, I just want to make sure I understand the meaning. In WS2 watershed state rules not allow is what is WS2 watersheds? Is that the falls? I don't think that is the falls.
Well, the WS2 is the strictest water supply watershed regulation that has been in effect since the mid-1990s. It has a stricter lot size minimum. WS2, generally you will find that running from Person County. It includes, and I'm just going by my mental visual, from Person County, runs through the town of Stem, then runs down into what is Butner.
Okay.
That's the general watershed. Then you have something called a WS2, one that is closer to Falls Lake or Lake Holt. And those are a little bit stricter. They're called restricted water supply watersheds, but there's not a lot of that.
But then this is not applicable in the area in which most of the citizens are concerned about.
That's correct.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the easement rights in regards to septic fields.
Yes, sir. I think Commissioner Williford mentioned and ask the septic tank. I've talked to the environmental health director. The septic tank permit includes soils that will be initially part of the septic system, and then they have to have a redundancy or a secondary area that may or may not be used. But both areas are part of that septic tank permit.
So I'll ask you a hypothetical.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I had a lot, 40,000 feet, square feet, excuse me, but it only had permeability for one septic site. However, there was an easement off that site that was continuous to it. That's acceptable, correct?
Yes, sir. You can have an easement that is not on the lot if it, sometimes, and there have been even before cluster subdivisions, septic easements that run a distance. But yes, they show them on the plat, and if it is part of the septic tank permit, it includes both the initial area and the redundancy or the secondary area.
What is the benefit of a cluster subdivision in the watershed?
In the watershed, the benefit of the cluster subdivision is that all the textbooks recommend cluster subdivisions in areas that have stormwater regulations. The benefit is that where you have stormwater control devices, and major subdivisions are going to have at least one, many of them have 5. It allows for proper maintenance on an open area that's owned by a homeowners association or controlled by a homeowners association, rather than a conventional subdivision where you have pretty much all the land is owned by individuals, including the stormwater control devices. That can lead to improper maintenance of those stormwater control devices. Even though the homeowner really has no right to do that, it's still on their land. They may mow it, weed it, use weed killer, which they
So all these just bear with me.
Sure.
Page 74.
Okay.
All these years prior to the of these developments that you see here, are most of these cluster subdivision developments?
Yes, sir. All those on 73 and 74 have been approved or by the planning board.
Well, I'm talking from 2013 to
Oh, the ones from 2013 to 2022?
yeah.
From years 2013 to 2019, were all conventional subdivisions. Anything since 2020 has been cluster subdivisions.
And during that period of time, from that 2013 to the 2019 timeframe, do you recall community wells?
No community wells.
Okay.
So, Mr. Baker, you spoke about, in Commissioner May's example, a 40,000 square foot lot could have an easement
Yes, sir.
for a septic system.
Yes, sir.
So you could have a 40,000 square foot lot and not have a perkable site, but still have a perkable site nearby that you could have an easement to?
That has occurred with some conventional subdivisions in the past. Not often, but it has.
So in that conventional subdivision, where would that perk site be? On someone else's
On
land?
someone else's lot, yes, sir.
So someone else's lot would be giving you deeded access, not necessarily in an open space or a common area, but actually like on your neighbor's lot.
That's correct.
We actually had one of those in our neighborhood where they gave them permission to run it 75 yards into their property.
That's right.
Does any other board member have any questions for Mr. Gooch.
Yes. You mentioned there's possibility of a 18,000 square foot lot in one of the subdivisions or some of them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Gooch. It's only one.
Okay.
I listed the smallest that I could find in each. There's only one that size in one particular subdivision. It has to still get a septic tank permit eventually.
Okay.
And it may not.
That's what I was kind of getting to, is these subdivisions, they got the lots laid out.
They also show suitable soils by a licensed soil scientist.
Okay.
I probably should not say that it is not likely to not have a septic tank permit. It will probably have an off-site, like Chairman May was describing.
An off-site permit. Okay.
On an open space that is adjacent to it.
Okay. So there's still possibility that lots buildable. In other words, when they submit the plans, they are pretty sure that all lots are buildable.
They are told that, by a licensed soil scientist, and we see that information. The planning board sees that information because it's part of our subdivision regulations.
Okay, thank you. Oh, one other thing.
Yes, sir.
The alternate site they mentioned, is that still referred to as ground under repair? That's a term that was used 20, 25 years ago.
I'm not sure. There was a term that was used, the best I can identify it as is a secondary repair area.
I know about 25 years or so ago, they used to, I think it was often referred to as ground under repair. You couldn't build anything on it, you couldn't use it because it was designated for future.
Right, it's part of your septic tank permit, and you can't, that's why if someone adds on to their home, or adds an accessory structure or a pool, they have to go and get their septic tank reviewed, and get a recertification from the health department. They're making sure that they don't damage what their approved septic tank permit was, the original.
They don't damage the leach field or the designated area for future leach field.
Right.
Well, having a senior moment. Thought shot through my head, but I didn't catch it in time.
I have those too. I've got some gray.
But a benefit of a larger lot, potential, because it's all about suitable soil, is that you would have enough room to be able to.
It is.
Enough spacing between the well and the repair field and the septic field.
I'm sorry, say that again.
A benefit of a larger lot is because you have to have three things. You have to have distance between the well.
Right.
And you would include distance between the well field.
Right.
The septic field and the repair field.
That's correct.
So that's an advantage of a larger lot.
That is an advantage of a larger lot.
Okay.
Again, it wasn't.
If there's suitable soil.
If there's suitable soil.
And do we have any information concerning community wells? Have you been provided any information concerning community wells?
As to why they're used? No one's answered that question. No one's answered that question, why? When you take a look at the 16 subdivisions or the 6 that have indicated community wells, it's the 100 lot subdivision. That's the only relationship I can see as to why they may have a community well where some of the smaller subdivisions and lot number don't.
Okay. Any other questions by any board members?
From the angle of the community wells. You said it's just the larger ones, are doing?
That's what it appears.
Could it be economy of scale when they're looking at the cost of the lot and they're looking at the cost of putting a well on each lot versus a community well with the infrastructure to get to each house? Could that be the trigger point, or?
I don't know that answer.
Could it be in these clustering subdivisions that have community wells that it's a cost issue for them running additional road and stream crossings and driveways across ditches and those kind of things?
That's a
That it would be better to
possibility.
put the environmentally sensitive areas in community control to meet your 10% recreation
That's-
set aside?
That's,
Now, can you utilize the 30% set aside for off-site amenities? Such as a septic or a well?
percentage of it, as long as it's underground, I mean, it's still open space.
Okay, so you could have a 30% set aside for open space and have your community well on that
As long as it
acreage.
doesn't somehow, as far as the recreation area, as long as it doesn't, isn't damaged by a recreation facility.
Okay, so and I know this is not within your wheelhouse because you do planning and zoning, not DEQ or HHS. But if you had a 8-acre set aside for environmental preservation and you were to site a community well, could you site that community well on that 8 acres?
Yes.
Okay, so they require, they being the state, requires a circumference around that well, a couple hundred feet, I believe, right?
I think so.
So, in your opinion, do you think that it might behoove the choice to have available land to put such resources?
Well, they still would have the option. And many of the cluster subdivisions had more open space than the minimum. So there's some additional land that were not used ostensibly because of suitable soils. So there is on a tract the possibility of available land to be used for open space and still meet the 40,000 square foot minimum. And again, the average is 45,000 or 44,000 square feet.
Man, it's hard.
Okay.
You have people signed up for a public hearing?
Yep. And is there no other comments from commissioners at this point? Okay. At this time, I have Ms. Teresa, Mr. Baker, if you could just stay up front, we may come back to you, sir. But thank you for your time. Teresa Smith, Cooperative?
Oxford Commissioner Gilreath.
Yeah.
Oxford Commissioner Gilreath.
Sorry, I mispronounced your name, Commissioner.
It is quite all right, sir. I want to thank the board for allowing me to speak this evening. City manager, commissioners, I just want to thank you. I came before you tonight just because I read in the newspaper that there was going to be a text amendment. And I am here with my family members because we are, we have acquired land from our ancestors that's been in our family for a really, really long time. And we wanted to make sure that we were good stewards of what has been left to us. So with regards to all of that, I called a family meeting to show them and tell them about this text amendment that I saw in the newspaper, and I didn't understand it. And so I panicked, and I started seeking answers. But the time that I decided to start seeking answers, it was a little late. But you have to do what you have to do. So with regards to growth and development, it has truly upset a lot of communities, and it evokes fear and anxiety and the unknown due to a lack of understanding. And I really like the comments and the questions Commissioner Karan, that you were asking, because they were the same questions that we had. And so, my family and I, we got together and we tried to analyze how this would impact us based upon the availability of land and what we knew about the land that we currently have. Well, I started looking up stuff and trying to pull enough information together for them. And I didn't know exactly where to go. So I went to the planning board and I didn't get the answers that I was seeking. And so I went to the county manager's office and I was received and explained to them what I needed, and they provided the information that I needed, and I really, really do appreciate that. But I would like to respectfully request that all responsible parties assure that supporting documents are available to assure that high transparency and educational opportunities are available to all citizens. And that's the thing that brought us here today, is because we like the we fail to have gained the understanding. I understand, and now I see and hear that this has been going on for a long period of time, and it has just gained my attention. Anyway, and so I appreciate being here today and this information being provided. But it was a good thing that I had an opportunity to talk to the county manager, as well as Mr. Baker today. He returned my phone call. But it seems like that I wasn't alone, and there was a lot of speculation and emotional reactions to this serious concern, where cluster subdivisions have an impact on the water supply in our neighboring communities. What I do know is that our world is in a serious crisis with many of our natural resources that would include water. I would like to request that we as a community protect our valuable resources, be better stewards of the limited resources that we currently have, and be responsive when the needs for change in our use. Countries all over the world are having issues with their water supply and access to clean water. I grew up in the Rock Spring and Bruce Garner area, and I walked many a mile up the hills and down the Little Beaver Dam Creek, baptized in Smith Creek, and in Falls Lake, that was my own personal swimming pool. I see the changes and the silt deposits causing damming and then erosions, bacterial growth in Falls Lake. We don't have a crystal ball, but we should be able to make policies based upon evidence-based practices. My family and I are in support of the square foot increase of the lot, but we oppose any regulations that would impact the practical use of land due to the layout of that lot. I do not want my rights to use my land to be lessened due to nebulous rules that are not founded in science. I respectfully request that clear cuttings of land and deforestation be limited. Driveways have drain pipes to direct the water flow and not wash away roads, displacing silt and soil or to cause erosion. So whatever we need to do to assure that our community is the best that it can be, we should be on board and supportive in doing our part as individuals and as a community. And so I thank you for this opportunity, and we're going to read the newspaper and pay closer attention. And we thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Gilreath, would you believe that the average lot cost in the area you grew up is $115,000?
And that's what scares us.
Don't worry, this change will make them 123.
Vanessa McMillan? And by the way, I failed to mention, it's 3 minutes.
You're good.
You're all good.
You're good.
Yeah.
I would just like to say good evening to the board. I come to you, a lot of my questions was answered tonight with what I've heard tonight from this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Baker, for that. I was one of the persons who had an easement across a creek that was certified and everything, but it was logged and it no longer exists for me. I've had it for 17 years. that was deeded to me, and I have the deed to it. I was building a daycare center. So my dreams have been crushed because the land was family land that I didn't have to pay for. I put it in place 17 years prior, but because someone went in out of Raleigh and logged the land, it messed up my drain field because he didn't do his due diligence of his land search. And with that being said, I'm back to square one, but I still own the land, and that's a good thing. I come tonight, my daughter has sent a letter because she would be now third or fourth generation of this group of people who have inherited this land. And she just writes a little letter stating that other people coming into the land, to the Granville County, and building and buying up the land and putting up these subdivisions, that those rules should not, and we hope will not, apply to family lots as far as the footage and all that stuff. We was concerned about the setback, that's what, but it was all displayed in this nice little handout that I received. But my daughter was saying that, let me see, as she's went off to school and everything, now she's coming back to Granville County. As I told you before, we own daycare centers. We're looking to put a daycare center in southern Granville County. She's went off to school, has her master's degree, and trying to come back to Granville County from Charlotte area to be on the land that she has inherited herself. So we need the water to be there. And she was just saying that we hope that we can work together to find a solution that would balance the interests of the community and this proposed amendment as far as the different square footages of the land and how it is used. So that's my thing. But I am a person who y'all was just talking about, and I don't know, I can't see a name, Mr. Karan, when you said about the drain fields being equated, that's me. So
Are you affiliated with Tater Tots?
that's me. I'm Tater Tots.
Can you believe what those lands next to Grissom Woods are going for?
I have. Yep. I live right across the street from them.
I know you well, ma'am.
So yeah. Well, thank you, sir, for listening.
And I hear fantastic things about your facility.
Thank you. And believe it or not, I went and bought another Tater Tots, but in another county. So, but thank you guys so much.
Karen Holding Jordan.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Barry, correct? Baker? Okay, thank you so much for the information. I am also a relative of the Holdings, descendants. Again, we've got lots of property and have had the property in our family for probably well over 100 years, so we were not sure what the land development code was going to encompass, and we just wanted to make sure that we were going to have full benefit of our property, of our inheritance. And so with that, I can just yield my 2.5 minutes. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you give me your address, please?
Yes, I live at 6711 Rockland Way, number 415, Raleigh, NC, but my property is on Bruce Garner Road.
Okay. Ms. McMillan, can you provide me your address?
3203 Bruce Garner Road, Fremont, North Carolina.
Thank you. And Teresa, Commissioner, can you provide me your address, please?
915 Williamsburg Street, Oxford, North Carolina.
Okay, my apologies for not asking before. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this topic? Commissioners, are there any other questions or that you have at this time? I declare the public meeting closed. Board, do you need any further clarification? What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I know that we closed this particular public hearing, but I would request that we continue this public hearing to receive information from Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, HHS, Health and Human Services, and have a legal review of the general statutes. I'd also like to hear about the national standard plumbing codes to get a better understanding of how wells work and the pump rates and flow rates that are required, as well as additional information that may come into this board.
So I have a motion to leave the public hearing open to, and that would mean it would in that case, reconvene the next board meeting.
You can continue the public hearing to a date in the future. It could be the next meeting. It could be
to November 6th.
Could be November 6th. It could
November
be the
6th.
second meeting.
Yeah.
And I would encourage us to go to the second meeting.
Okay,
It's
what's
a
the
couple of
second day
weeks.
of the second meeting?
I think it's,
The 20th?
we do have a second meeting, don't we?
Yes.
We believe it to be the 20th. I'm confirming that.
The 20th. Okay, so Commissioner Kramer has made a motion to continue the public hearing and to have a, continue it to November 20th. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing will remain open until November 20th, into which Commissioner Karan has noted a number of items he would like to have clarified. We encourage each member of the public that has a concern in this matter, any other citizens that have a concern in this matter, to come back. Mr. Baker, thank you for your time tonight. I just to sum it up, the proposed of the public hearing is to hear public comments on the proposed amendment to the Land Development Code, LDC, that would increase the minimum lot size in a rural cluster subdivision to 40,000 square feet, require a minimum lot width of 85 square feet lot, and change the minimum setbacks in proposed rural cluster subdivisions. With that said, we've already voted, have we not? Yep. In that case, I will move on to our next topic. We will continue the public meeting at that November 20th meeting at that time.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one comment? I'm just very thankful that you all are here and are willing to give us your opinion. Thank you very much.
Also encourage those citizens that would like to make further comments at the next meeting, please come make your comments. Any and all comments, they're welcome. To more that we want to make sure our board makes an informed decision. Okay, thank you. Mr. Baker, you can carry on, sir. I think the next topic is the CAMPO.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. This is next item is a proposed study that would be submitted to CAMPO by the end of this month.
Mr. Baker, will you let the audience know who CAMPO is?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. They are a transportation planning regional entity that is primarily based in Wake County. Whoops. There we go. No, this is fine. Thank you, Drew. This is the CAMPO boundary. This is the area of Granville County that is in CAMPO. It includes Creedmoor. It runs from I-85 to the Franklin County line, roughly the Tar River south to the Wake County line. The predominant county in CAMPO is Wake County, but they have parts of Franklin, Johnston, and Harnett County Granville County joined CAMPO roughly 20 years ago. Back in the spring, we talked, staff talked to CAMPO staff about the need for a transportation study of the area in their jurisdiction, or in the CAMPO jurisdiction, that does approximate the southeastern area of Granville County. They opened up a call for these special studies in August with a deadline of the end of this month. Planning staff has been working on a proposal to them. It would be it would be something that would be carried on if CAMPO accepts the project. They would conduct an area study in the Granville County jurisdiction that's in the CAMPO boundary. The special study would be primarily a transportation study that does look at land use as it impacts transportation, but there can also be ancillary studies included regarding economic development and maybe looking at water.
Groundwater.
Groundwater, yes, sir. Thank you. There we go. This is the area that we are thinking this special study would include. Even though it's our southeast part of our county, in the CAMPO area, it's the northwest part of CAMPO. And so this special study might be called the Northwest Area Study. It would incorporate NC 56 from I-85 to US 1 in Franklinton, NC 96 from CAMPO boundary to US 1, continued residential growth pressures in southeastern Granville that primarily occurs in the CAMPO boundary, and water resource issues from the continued residential growth in the CAMPO area in Granville. Reason for the study. There we go. The older NC 56 study was only for the western portion of NC 56 from Creedmoor to Butner, from I-85 to Mount Energy Road, Mount Energy School, roughly. The entire southeastern portion of Granville County has never been studied in detail or included in any CAMPO regional area plan. This whole northwestern section has not. That would include even some of Wake County. There are several areas of continued and anticipated growth, such as the Bruce Garner Road, Lawrence Road, NC 96 and NC 56 area. There are several intersections in the area that are seeing increased congestion and safety issues. CAMPO has identified a few projects in the southeastern portion of the county, but has never studied any of them in detail. An area study in this area would complete the only area of CAMPO that is not covered by an existing area study and help prepare the county for the anticipated growth. In addition, there are 5 schools, 1 high school, 1 middle, and 3 elementary schools that contribute to traffic and safety concerns in this CAMPO boundary. If CAMPO chooses to conduct the study, they would pay for the cost of the transportation component of the study and any land use component that directly impacts transportation in the area. Land use studies that look at water issues and economic development would have to be paid for by Granville County in full to be included. If CAMPO selects our study, and it would roughly, we would hear whether or not they selected our project by the end of February. They would pay for the cost, if selects the study for the next, if CAMPO selects the study for the next FY, there will be opportunity to determine the cost of the local match and decide whether to proceed with that component of the county of the study. That would be the water resource component. I will say that I have talked to CAMPO staff. They're not sure that they have ever had that kind of study. It's being proposed right now. They've looked more at the public. They've had public water and sewer components in studies that they have done. But they have done some economic development or had those as part of a study before in other areas. In a nutshell, it is an area that has not been studied by CAMPO. It includes an area of our county that has seen considerable growth over the time that I've been here and even before. And I've been here 20 years. I think I had a question today whether or not it would be CAMPO would put these, after choosing us and having it decided on what would be put out to bid, they would bid the project. It would be a CAMPO project. We would be certainly involved. They may, one of the CAMPO staff members that this request would go to is mentioned even NC 98 has not been looked at in Wake County. So it could be larger than our county, but it's an area that they have not looked at. It could be one particular consultant that does that. It could be, I've seen other studies. Our comprehensive land use plan had some subcontractors look at specific areas of economic development, so it could include others. But they would put that out to bid after it was decided what would be the project. And so I brought it here tonight. We have been working on it. I've been working on it because there is a deadline. We feel good about it, but we'll submit it to them, and that's and we'll hear sometime in February.
And thank you, Mr. Baker, for explaining it to us. It's one of the first things that we put from a planning perspective with Mr. Cummings soon after he arrived, and we met with CAMPO. This corridor is slated to be widened or some type of significant work done on the corridor, that meaning from Butner to or Creedmoor out to US 1, 2040. And we know by the state transportation improvement plan that the commitments that were on the bucket list, but that's too long. And so what we wanted to do, board, is we wanted to get CAMPO's attention to what we believe to be a real concern in regards to growth and how we manage it and get ahead of it. And by doing so, we wanted to include all the areas of the county that we could within the southern end so that it could be a comprehensive study. We've heard the complaints about the traffic along all of our back roads and so forth, and the corridors and how those can be improved. And this study will do traffic counts and do all the other stuff. And I'm hopeful through our discussions at our board meeting with CAMPO that we will also be able to achieve further than just transportation based on our conversations that we've had. We cannot say that conclusively, but I'm confident. I'm also of that, but I'm also feel confident. And then also the fact is that a significant amount of this study, this is a significant cost to a study like this, which most of all the transportation costs would be covered by CAMPO. And so
correct.
that's a significant cost that the county would not bear. So, Mr. Baker, when is the deadline for this and when are you submitting? Because we have a meeting this week, I think.
The deadline is the end of this month, and I anticipate sending it to them next week.
Okay, good. So you have no problem me all letting the commissioners in Creedmoor and...
Oh, well, there has been a meeting. We have had a staff meeting
right
about this, and
Mr.
the
Frank
staff
Board.
of Butner and Creedmoor are in favor of it.
Okay, good, excellent. County Manager, you have anything to mention to the board about this and before any of the commissioners discuss it?
No, I think our meeting with Chris Lucasina, the director of CAMPO, left me feeling quite optimistic that they would be supportive of this project. I think they realize that not having ever done a detailed study of any area of Granville County, is something that needs to be rectified, and this is clearly high on our priority list. So I'm hopeful that I know we'll get a good, solid proposal in, and maybe we'll need to consider what can be piggybacked on the transportation study, other things that we're interested in finding out about. But I'm hopeful that at the very least the transportation study will be something that can move forward.
Any other commissioners have any comments on this?
I think it's awesome that we're moving forward with this. I know Granville County used to think that they were the only ones that didn't have a 4-lane road connecting us to Wake County, but apparently Harnett County is the same boat as us, being on the southern end. I think the 4-lane 401 stops right there at Fuquay. But speaking of which, the Highway 50 corridor study that was done forever ago when they decided to stop it at 98 and then do spot improvements, is that, where is that?
My understanding that is basically in Wake County from 540 to 98, probably 6 years ago, it got on the STIP to be a funded project to widen from 540 to 98. In the last 4 years, it fell off. So it's back in, the recommendation of the STIP for it to be scored and possibly funded in the future. But it's not a funded project at the moment.
So do we know, was that kind of concurrent with Raleigh getting their ask of Falls Lake to get into the dilute pool and all that kind of stuff, that they're trying to impede growth in this area? Is that the opinion, the catalyst behind that?
I don't think so. I think it's purely that the DOT's highway gasoline tax is not generating enough revenue to fund what was promised, and so it's the DOT that took. And it's not just that project. There were many other projects that were funded in future years, like 8 years from a STIP adoption, and they fell off.
So that's the real catalyst behind how Dale Falwell got them back on track, Tom. He just dropped a bunch of projects from from the NCDOT, and that's how they got back in the good fiscal graces. Is that how it works? Or I know they had to pay back the Highway Trust Fund, but I would appreciate you putting in a plug for us on that Highway 50 corridor study again, because that's imperative. I mean, you pretty much get in line before you even get on Highway 50 when you head south, and then coming north in the opposite direction in the evening, you get in line basically at 540 and you come all the way to 15 north.
Even though it's been put in here at NC 56, NC 50 is in that area that could be studied.
Well, that's critical. I mean, that's a huge
I could add that tomorrow to what is sent to them.
That would be outstanding.
How about that?
Yeah, that'd be good. Good. We have Commissioner Karan, we have worked really hard over the last couple of years on CAMPO, and it seems, as we've mentioned to them, we're really tired of approving projects for Wake County and some of the surrounding counties, and it's time that we had started having some projects approved for Granville County. We have some legislators that are working on our behalf. I think one of the things we all got to keep in mind, though, when all these buckets of money rain down from DOT, is that we're in DOT District 5. And DOT District 5 serves Wake County and Durham County. And so that places us in a very difficult position when you talk about funding and population and so forth. So we will be that little chihuahua that keeps biting at their heels to get what we need for these studies, and hopefully we can get it done. But that's just the unfortunate part of it, is that and they can bring the local funding to bear that unfortunately it's very difficult for us to do. So, any questions by any other commissioners?
They still studying the study, 98 and 50. Cause they keep every time they come up with it, it's the flow. They put another study on. And last time I think it was like last time I heard was 2030.
It was funded
I won't say it. It's
about
lost.
6 years ago, 6 to 8 years ago, and then it fell off the funded list.
I don't think I was going to say, but I think there's a lake that might be a little problem for them. So, Mr. Baker, any other commissioners, Mr. Gooch?
We've got a lot of transportation needs, highway needs around here. I-85 is reaching, or has reached, its advised capacity. So we have problems there through our county. Look at 56,
No.
all the way from Creedmoor to Wilton, and from Wilton to the county line. Every intersection is a danger there. And the same thing with the 96 corridor, all the way to the Franklin County line and past it. So there's a lot of needs, transportation needs in our end of the county.
And now, one thing we did add that I think is going to help us, but it's still going to mitigate some of it, but there's still concerns and continue to be concerns as we grow, is that the traffic impact analysis per the developments and requiring the developer to take on those expenses when there's a need. But that's not going to solve it. We need some DOT help, and I know the county manager's working on that, this board's working on that, and our legislators are working on it.
And this study, if it comes to fruition, can help with spot type funding that fix some issues at intersections and things like that are dangerous.
Yes. I did want to make a note while we're talking transportation, just for everyone, tomorrow, I think at 3 o'clock, there's a forum on DOT transportation to hear at the Expo Center at 3 o'clock that Representative Sosserman has arranged, and representatives from DOT will be here, and other people will be here to discuss the state of DOT for Granville County. I think can add some additional illumination on some of our concerns. Thank you, Mr. Baker. If the board doesn't have any more questions for him. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for putting that together. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Next, Ms. Jeannie Griffin, the tax administrator.
Good evening, board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm here today to submit to you the schedule of values, standards and rules of appraisal. Okay. So, overview, I'm going to give a brief description of why reevaluation and why it's required, submission of the schedule of values, standards, and rules to the Board of Commissioners, and request the Board of Commissioners to schedule a public hearing. So, what is a reevaluation? The process of updating Granville County's real property values to reflect the fair market value. The reevaluation process is well underway as of January 1, for the January 1, 2024 effective date. So why perform a reevaluation? All 100 counties in North Carolina counties are required to conduct a general reappraisal at least once every 8 years. However, the North Carolina Department of Revenue recommends reappraisal once every 4 years. April of 2020, the North Carolina Department of Revenue recommended Granville County move from a 8-year reevaluation to a shorter cycle due to our sales changing so quickly. Granville County is currently on a 6-year reappraisal cycle by resolution adopted by the Board of County Commissioners. So reevaluation ensures property values accurately reflect their market value, so the property tax burden is spread equitably across taxpayers. So most property value increase for residential and commercial properties. A countywide average increase should be between 60 and 95% predicted. Actual changes in values for individual properties may be outside of that range. There has been rapid growth in the real estate market since 2021. So tonight is required by state statute that I submit the schedule of values to the Board of Commissioners for consideration. The schedule of values must be approved by the Board of Commissioners before January 1st of the year applied, reevaluation date. Statutes include provisions for public review. We'll have the schedule of values out at the tax administration. I'm also hoping to get it online as well. And we'll have a public hearing and hopefully your approval. Okay. So what is the schedule of values? It's a manual that describes the rules, methodology, and procedures for appraising real property. It's very, very detailed and complex. It establishes the base rates and ranges for all types of property, which will be in effect until the next reevaluation. It includes adjustments that may be used for various types of construction, adjustment for market conditions, and valuations for land, schedules for land. Okay. So why have a schedule of values? To determine land value. The manual takes into consideration each tract, parcel, or lot at its advantage and disadvantages to location, zoning, quality of soil, adaptability of agriculture, timber, producing, commercial, etc. In determining building or other improvement value, it considers the location, type of construction, the age of the building, total square feet, heated square feet, number of bathrooms, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial. And we have it to ensure the same standards are applied to all county property to keep the values equitable. So today I'm asking you accept the proposed schedule of values. schedule a public hearing on the purpose of the schedule, on the proposed schedule of values at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. What is that, November 6th? Do I have that right? Okay. And direct the tax administrator to advertise the submission and the date and time of the public hearing. Do you guys have any questions?
Well, is it your comments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
How much does the schedule of values change from revaluation to revaluation?
Well, I would say I wasn't here for the 2010, but I do remember the values when I came in 14. So from 14 to 18, there wasn't that much of a change. There was a lot of properties that went down. There were a lot that went down in value, and then a few that did go up, but it wasn't that drastic of a change as it will be this time.
So when you look at the parameters about, land types, and if it's slopey or flat, or, good soils, not good soils, building grades, ABC kind of stuff, that part doesn't change, right? But the value assessed to each of those does.
Yes, the value.
So you will still have, like, what was a B building grade
stay.
will still be a B building grade.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was, not a desirable lot, it would still be less than desirable. So it just becomes a percentage of price?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Ward? You said for the advertising for the next board meeting,
Mm-hmm.
is that gonna be an ample enough time?
Coach, you get it? I think so. Yeah, that means the required notice requirements.
And I would take it that all the necessary work will be done at that point to be able to present something that'll be pretty close to finalized, or?
I don't want to speak for Jenny, but I think the product is almost, finalized right now. I think what we're looking at is a fairly final product, unless there are any major challenges to it based on specific facts.
We have Emmett here from Pearson. He will be doing sales studies up until the end of December. So it kind of depends on what the market does between now and then. And I don't know, if you look at the sales, there's not as many sales as there has been recently, but the sales prices are not changing.
So I'm going to ask you a real world question here. Our economy's fragile. We have the Middle East in a war. What happens if you have to shift on a dime to values based upon a significant market change in a short window of time? Is the process established to where you can move on a dime?
It's almost like a push of a button, just to add adjustment factors to it. Once you have all these schedules in, there's adjustment factors that you can add to it to adjust the values.
Okay. So it's prepared.
Am I saying that right, Emmett? Okay.
Go ahead, Drew.
And I want to make sure I ask a clarifying question. Once the reval has happened and values are finalized, then it is not so easy to adjust them at the push of a button, correct?
No.
Okay. I think that's an important distinction. So up to the point at which it's finalized, they can be tweaked based on changes in sales and so on. But after we've adopted the final values, then it's a different
So, and again, I hate
question.
I've not done this before as a commissioner, so this is going to be a new process for me. I openly admit that I'm going to have to do a lot of reading.
I have someone coming to help out with some of
But
that.
January 1 once we commit to them and say, this board is approving with this and this is how we're moving forward. And then within 30 days, because I just feel like our world's in that point now, we have a substantial change in the market. What can we do at that point?
So I think that one thing that might happen is the same thing that actually did happen in 2022, which was that if the state keeps an eye on sales ratios by county, and that's where, if sales prices get out of whack with official assessed values far enough, the state will come in and say, yeah, we know, right, so the next reval would be 2030, but if our sales ratio gets out of whack, the State Department of Revenue might come in and say, look, your ratio is out of whack. You need to hurry up that next reval so that people's values can be adjusted again.
So there might be a time period in which people would be paying out of whack, but we could adjust accordingly with the amount of time it would take to get it back into sync.
One other thing I would mention, right, is that even with adjusted values, remember that we reset to a revenue neutral tax rate. We don't, and if your property has had the average amount of appreciation, your tax bill would be close to the same next year as it is this year. And so just because values have gone up significantly does not mean that people's taxes will go wildly spiraling out of control, which I think that's an important thing to keep reminding ourselves of. And so I think even if values did start going down, that, the taxes that people were paying would still be somewhat comparable unless they have a very unusual property that has appreciated at a greatly different rate than the average property. I think we wouldn't be putting them into a really difficult spot, if that makes sense.
Board, any questions? Any further questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment, and it's really sad that here we are talking taxes, and we have a total of 5 citizens here that are not county employees. And so absolutely no one would understand this but the 5 of you. And so I'm now swearing you to go out and tell everybody and explain this book. Can somebody pick up that book? That little book to explain to everybody how this is. So, but it is scary that no one understands this because they don't know what we're doing.
Oh, we're going to try to get more information out to the public.
Thank you. Any other comments? Jennifer, Jenny, excuse me, your recommendation?
To submit this for your consideration, and then we meet again for the public hearing and possibly approve it at a later time.
Okay. Do I need a motion? Mr. Williford?
I'll make the motion that we...
I'll make the second if I don't have to read it all by the 6th.
And what the motion is that she's recommending approve receiving and the proposed schedule standards rules approve the tax administrator publishing the notice of public hearing in both the Oxford Public Ledger and the Butner Creamer Nose. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any further discussion? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Sheriff Fountain, sir. Thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, giving honor to God. Go ahead, chat. I thought you were going to lead up for me. I always have to give honor to God and to the team that surrounds me and supports what we're doing in the mission to keep our county safe. Before I go into what we're here for, I want to just say thank you to Vaya. I want to say thanks to DHHS, to the Southern Health Partners, because the Stepping Up initiative, we're convening a meeting with all the partners on the 26th, where we will start looking at how to reduce recidivism and to address mental health within our jail systems. Today, within that process, we have a electronic monitoring record system that was just implemented. Due to the hard work of the board and to the sheriff's office, we had a contract and language embedded in the contract where we could have electronic record systems and record keeping. And what that does is reduces the hours that people have to actually do data entry on paper files, storage, And Chris Brame came over in IT today to help us get everything up and running. So our electronic medical records is up and running. Our core EMR is started today. So again, we are here this evening to ask the board to adopt a resolution to which we have applied. We applied for a grant fund of a no match, $0 match of $30,000. That $30,000 will be utilized in promoting the public safety. And primarily what we have done so far with some of the grant funding is by speed signs. And two of the speed signs, and included in your package and the information that you've probably reviewed already, we're putting a speed sign down on Bruce Garner Road because we see there's a high safety issue with the traffic down there. We're putting one up 98, going towards Virgilina. The CEO of DOT lives in Granville County. Mr. J.J. Eden and I have had conversations in reference to how we could work together to increase the safety of our pedestrians traveling on our roads. And to that, with this grant funding, will be a great way for us to continue to do that. This grant is actually asking for 3 radar units, 2 mobile deploy radar displays, and the anticipated deployment will be in 2023 in November. We'll have, like I said, 196, we're going to put that up. We already got those, right, correct, Rob? And we have one that's going to go on Bruce Garner. But we have 3 radar certified deputies. We have 4 that are being pending radar certifications through LIDAR. Our Governor's Highway Safety Program coordinator is in the Granville County Sheriff's Office. The Region 4, which covers 12 counties, Governor's Highway Safety Program Director or Chair is based out of the Granville County Sheriff's Office. So we're doing things to increase the safety, to reduce the drunk drivers that's on our roads with our county, our neighboring county. Even Friday, we had an operation with Franklin County to where I think it's around 79 arrests were made or citations were given. We did the same thing in Durham. And on November the 3rd, Granville County is going to have a Booze It and Lose It operation as well. So we're going to continue to do things to keep this county safe. But this $30,000 is to buy more equipment in that vein of keeping us safe.
Any questions for the sheriff? Sheriff, do you have any 2023 stats showing some of your significant, I know that you've done a few.
I think we do. And Rob, you got those? The 2022s? But I know for the first quarter, I can tell you what we've done this first quarter of traffic enforcement. We've had over 103 traffic stops, 53 citations. We've had 40 people that have driven over 15 miles an hour. The new law changed anything over 20 to where your license get revoked for a minimum of 30 days. We've had two DWIs. So, Mr. Bayless, if you could answer Mr. May's question.
So you've had a significant increase based on the use of these funds in traffic enforcement in comparison to the statistical data that's on the grant there, because I know why you have it on the grant form, but I just want to make sure the board understands that those numbers really aren't reflective of what you did in 2023. Correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just for example, on the DUI enforcement, just in the first quarter alone, there were 2 DUIs. I think last year alone there was just 2 in total. So really the initiative got off the ground in July when Deputy Eduardo Chavez took over as the local coordinator, and his initiative basically, he's been out there, and you've probably seen him a lot on 85. So the initiative is really taking fold, probably starting July 1. So our best stats go from July 1 to the present, and just alone on his, really the bulk of the enforcement activity has been with Deputy Chavez, and now that they are training other deputies, I think in also educating the general patrol population on and be more cognizant of enforcement, traffic enforcement, what's going on in the DUI process, trying to get more deputies certified for breathalyzers, and just getting that out there within the cadre to go out there and just be cognizant of what's going on the highways, try to reduce deaths, fatalities, and DUIs especially this time of year. So we've got real good stats for the first quarter, and we'll continue to collect those, and I think we'll have a really good report by the end of the fiscal year to say, hey, this is what we've done with the fund from 23, what we're continuing to do with 24. So I think the first quarter's really jump-started and off to a good start.
So our current breathalyzers, are they relatively new, or?
Now, I can just speak to what I know as far as what's in the detention facility. They're maintained to standard. I don't know the age on them, but they're all certified to meet whatever.
But that is something that if through the Governor's Safety Highway Program, you could actually purchase with the grant funds, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many do we have?
I think we have two.
Breathalyzer? Yes, sir. We got two down in the jail.
Yep.
So we take them back to the jail.
Yeah.
And that's part of where we're growing. For far too long, the Office of Sheriff didn't write tickets, didn't want to enforce speeding, didn't want to look at DWIs to a degree, which, promoted public safety. So we took a different turn, different approach. So that's why you're starting to see us being more down on Bruce Garner. That's why we're getting more people radar certified and toxilizer certified, because we think this public safety is a big issue. And because we're growing, we want to make sure that these roads, because they're small, because the people think they're speedways and then the four-wheelers down on the southern end of the county, we have to take a more aggressive approach in what we're doing for the safety on these highways and byways. And what we've done, we did a study that 90% of the people at speed when they commit a crime. When you start looking at breaking and entering attributed to when a person leaves a residence, once they've broken into their residence, they're going to speed away from that residence. So that's why the southern end has been a focus of ours, and Chavez kind of stays down in that, camped out in that southern end. We just hired another young lady we took from Morrisville PD, who's one of our new K9 officers as well. We're just waiting to get her a dog. She's radar certified. She hit the road Monday. She hit the road Monday. She had been working on an undercover operation, which we garnered some funds out of one of our local bars down in the southern end. So we're going to have an increased presence on the southern end. We swore in 2 more certified deputies today, who also are going to be radar certified as well.
Are these lateral, Sheriff?
Yes, sir. I'm picking up what I can get on.
Sheriff, I just want to thank you for getting one of the person off 96 that riding lawnmower talks.
Yes.
We got another one. We got another. I'm afraid on 96.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna get hurt on 96.
Well, we're trying to address many issues that y'all bring up. We're trying to address. From the Commissioner Karan asked us about the four-wheelers, and we went up north on 15 with the same complaints. Mr. Gucci didn't even contact me in reference to it, but we had those issues going up 15 with the kids in the four-wheelers when those citizens call, and we're trying to make sure we have an increased presence. And then those MOUs with the local police departments, trying to work with them to expand their footprint to work with us to do certain things as far as keeping these streets and roads safe. So all you gotta do is call.
I know 96 is dangerous. I got killed 3 times off 96 right in front of my house.
Board, thank you, Mr. Z. Any other questions the board might have for the sheriff about his request for this grant?
I don't have a question on this grant because I think it's awesome, but I do want to commend you on, we've always got a deputy here lately, and I've noticed tonight and other nights that when anybody, especially females, are leaving this building, that deputy's out there, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, it's because of the work that you do and with the requests you have made to us, and the hard work you, ladies and gentlemen, do. We just want to make sure we equal in that energy that you're putting out for our community. And my team is always committed to serve you as well as the rest of this community.
Well, I just think that the people that do come, and by the way, I'm sorry I missed you on my count earlier because his head was hiding you. But I do feel that people will think it's safer to come to these meetings when they know that there's somebody here to protect them when they get outside of the doors. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Karan?
One question in the weeds, and I appreciate you all getting grants. This is outstanding. on your grant application, North Carolina, in our packet, number 11, allocation of funding, it says 100% federal. Is that, I mean, it's state highway grant, but is it federal money?
Let me get there.
It's that blue page right in the very top. I can see it from here, number 11.
State county allocation, 100% federal.
It just caught my eye, that's all. I was curious.
Yeah, I believe it's money that trickles down from the federal government. So we've had a couple of those that they're pushed down to the state. The accreditation was one of them, where the money will originate at the federal level, then come down to the state for distribution. And I believe that's what we're going to see there.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board regarding this program? They're completing your 2023 budget, and from talking to Mr. Bayless on this grant, those funds are just about expended, correct? Mr. Bayless?
Sure.
Your 2023 grant funds have almost all been expended, correct?
That's correct. We'll be putting in, the reimbursement package is due at the end of the month, and Mr. McNally will be.
And all the expenditures for what they wanted has been accomplished, and then the new funds for the 3 radars and the Toussaint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so are what's be coming from this funding, along with some travel expense like this, to to go to different counties and so forth. So, board, what is your the sheriff is recommending we approve this Governor's Highway Safety Program grant at $30,000 for this next fiscal year. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Mr. Z moved to approve. His second. Mr. Williford, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, board. And again, the last Thursday of the month, Vaya Health stepping up. We're having a big fish fry at the sheriff's office. Last Thursday of the month, we always have a cookout. So come see us.
What time of day?
I'll start dropping fish around 1 o'clock, 12:30.
Oh, yeah, we did. And the board, we did have a liaison meeting with the sheriff, me and Dr. Cozart, I think, last Monday. And so the sheriff reported satisfactory progress at the jail, detention center, and satisfactory progress on the movement and the accreditation processes as well, which I think Mr. Bayless is also involved. So
we think we have a $40,000 grant that for the accreditation.
For CLIA?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we're looking internally, we will be looking at internally to have a manager and that person work together for the accreditation. We also, with the Southern Health Partners, looking to have our medical center accredited because it's going through the electronic record system. We want to make sure we do that as well. I think it's the Knoll system out of Talladega, Alabama, the county that we spoke to, because we want to make sure that we're having a higher standard than we've been accustomed to. So we're going in that direction. And the young lady flew in from Alabama actually yesterday. She was with us all day today, and she will be with us tomorrow, going through our records management and accreditation for our medical as well.
Just to bring the board up to speed, because I did not get to talk to everybody. If you know, fine. If you don't, you can just get back with the board members later. How many current detention openings and how many current LE openings?
LEOs is 6. I think it was 6. We're losing 1 to Creedmoor, but I just got 1 more back, so we're still at 6. I think detention, we're right around 87%. We just swore in 3 more today. So we should have only about 7 vacancies in the detention center as well. The courthouse, we lost a deputy out of the courthouse. We backfilled that with a detention staff personnel. And one of our former deputies, Roosevelt Holdings from the southern end, he's trying to come back full time to help run the courthouse. Garrett Pascal has been sworn back in, who used to be in charge of drug interdiction as a reserve deputy. He is going to help us with the interdiction and the Governor's Highway Safety Program to work those things. And we just had another female we hired from Bunn, who will be our first woman victims crime sexual assault investigator. Ms. Cruz, I think she's outside. She just got hired on as well. She's certified, ready to go. And she'll be driving a purple Charger. She'll be driving the purple Charger. Right now, she's going to learn the county, even though she was at Bund. She'll be learning the county, but she'll be moving into criminal investigations as well. And she'll be in the purple car, Ms. Hemmings. So if you want to ride, this cruise will be ready.
I have a question, and this could be for the sheriff, the county manager. We received $5 million in funding, or it went to, from Representative Sossaman, that goes over to Mariah Parham for a secure mental health facility. Do we have a relationship? Do you have a relationship where we are able to use that?
Not as of yet. Where we take our IVCs and voluntary commitments is pretty much we're taking them to Durham. Durham has a secure facility. If somebody is that we know we need to have secured, we will take them. Other than that, we'll wait for bed space somewhere else that may not be of greater risk. We have a young lady that's always, she will get locked up today. They will put her in a system. 2 weeks later, she's right back. But we have to do something different because you're looking at a misdemeanor, habitual misdemeanor, because of a mental health situation. She's homeless and she has mental health issues. And that's why it's so important that Vaya and Stepping Up and all of us are coming together to address these issues.
But would that not be something that we would like to cultivate with?
Oh, most definitely.
Elliot?
About that facility and the build out. I know capacity wise it's not going to.
And after that, the county manager.
At least for Henderson's campus. Thank you.
Sure, sure.
For Henderson's campus, I've met with Mariah Parham's leadership very recently about this, so this is why it's fresh on my mind. It will only add 3 additional beds. This is very early stage. That $5 million is in general to create a more secure and safe environment. You know, a lot of their staff that experience direct interaction with some of those patients just have not been able to have an environment where they can secure them. I mean, they've got people out in the hallways, they have to go on diversion constantly. Behavioral health in particular creates a very difficult situation at the Henderson campus. So that being said, though, capacity-wise, the plan is only for an additional 3. But I would encourage you, if you've got specific questions about their specific plan, you know, reach out to Mariah Parham directly, of course. But large in part, that is to upfit and make the facility more safe and secure, not to increase capacity.
But now the $5 million I was speaking of was for the Mariah Parham to make that a secure where the deputies could leave.
That's correct.
Representative Sossaman explained to us. Okay.
County manager.
Just to add that I've had some conversations with Lisa Harrison at Granville Vance Public Health, who's also been in conversation with Mariah Parham folks and have a meeting scheduled on Friday to find out a little bit more about how that $5 million will be spent, and I can make sure to ask what kind of access Granville County law enforcement might have to that facility as well as the one in Durham that they're currently using.
Thank you, County Manager.
Thank y'all. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Bayless. Mr. Phillips?
Thank you, Chairman May, Granville County Commissioners. Cooperative Extension. This request considers awarding a fixed price service contract for the needed repair and control system upgrade for the geothermal heating and cooling system. The geothermal system providing heating and cooling at 125 Oxford Loop Road facility, which is Cooperative Extension, needs system control repairs and automation updates. The system's control system, which monitors space temperatures, controls inline duct dampers, activates geothermal heat pumps, and associated fan units, is outdated and currently partially inoperable because of failed controller on unit number 5. The system was designed and installed in the early 2000s, and the web-based software control system platform no longer is supported by Microsoft, which is the operating software system. The base price of the attached proposal replaces Unit 5 TAC controller and the control system sensors that are currently inoperable. It also includes updating the system's operational control platform and integration with existing building equipment controls. Option 1 replaces the TAC controllers in the remaining 8 units, as well as the unit operating sensors, space area temperature sensors throughout the building. So this request complies with Section 2 informal bids. We have adequate funding this year in HVAC service contract, project contracts, and I would recommend awarding the contract to Studebaker Control Solutions for a fixed price not to exceed $27,950. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Board, are there any questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make the motion that we take Mr. Phillips' recommendation and award the contract to Studebaker Controls Solutions not to exceed a cost of $27,950.
Mr. Williford with the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Gooch. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Second item I've got is a request to consider awarding a fixed price service contract for the needed evaluations of the existing sewer lift station, gravity outfall and force main at Triangle North Granville Park. The Triangle North Granville Business Park was developed in 2007, contains approximately 1.6 miles of roadway, 1,000 GPM pump station, 6,100 linear feet of gravity outfall, and approximately 4,700 linear foot of 12-inch force main. In 2019, Granville County entered into an agreement with McGill Associates to evaluate the public water needs and the condition of the existing sewer infrastructure. To date, the water infrastructure has been designed and permitted with an anticipated bid date of January 2024. This request continues the sewer system evaluation and forthcoming recommendations for compliance and acceptance by the City of Oxford. This is a request for continuation of an existing contract that complies with Section 5, Architectural Engineering and Surveying Services. We have funding in the Triangle North Granville Project Ordinance. It was created this fiscal year. And my recommendations is to award the service contract to McGill and Associates for a fixed price service agreement of $74,250. I'll answer any questions that I can.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to accept the recommendation coming from McGill, $74,250.
Mr. J with the motion to approve the recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Karan to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Scott, one quick question for you on the
Yes,
Cooperative Extension building. Have we gotten a handle on the solar array? Do those panels still produce anything?
The question came up today. I'm aware of the solar panels on top of the roof. I haven't really put a lot of thought into it. I mean, it's you know, they're not ours, I guess, for instance. They're the state's equipment. Without diving into looking at the design plans, it probably dumps to the grid. It probably provides some electricity use for the building itself, but I haven't seen any kind of battery storage arrays in the building. They're operational, I can tell you that, but exactly, you know, where the power goes, my first thought, it goes to the grid.
Paul Westphal had looked into it at one point in time, and he pretty much hit a dead end.
That's probably when I looked at it last. It was with Paul. And, you know, we confirmed it's generating power, but, you know, I don't think I haven't really dived into the design plans to see how it's working or where it's going, really.
You know, my only concern is that it's been there since the building was constructed, and obviously they used what was at that point in time with the geothermal and the solar array.
All that stuff was put on back in the Obama era with all the stimulus money back in the 2000s. That's when they put the geothermal system in place, and that's when they put the solar panels on the building. So they're aged, yeah.
Right. And I was just curious about the life of those. What, you know, if they're going to be obsolete sitting up there, and it's one
I'm
of
sure
those
there are better ones out on the market now.
Okay, just a curiosity.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Scott, and sorry it took so long to get to you.
Scott, I got I got a question to ask you. As you come around the curve, on the loop, after we get to the extension office,
Yes, sir.
that sign up there,
Yes, sir.
I don't know where you need to cut the hedges down. The hedges need to be cut down or sign raised up. I don't know which one, because you'll run by the sign.
Yeah, we can look into that. It's probably not the best place for the sign with the hedges and stuff that are growing. I think, the farm basically takes care of the landscaping there, so I can see what we can do to try to get them to kind of trim them down a little bit. They got a limited staff and a lot of work, and it's really hard to get them to do a whole lot of anything out there. But they do a good job with what they do. So, but I'll see if I can have that done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Next item is to make appointments to the Parks and Greenways and Recreation Committee. Board, do we have any recommendations in terms of Wayne Hudson, District 2, and Marilyn Howard at large, expired in August? Mr. Hudson and Ms. Howard do not wish to be reappointed. Do we have a nomination for District 2?
Yes, sir, I do. David Felleruth lives at 421 Goshen Street, has moved from Durham, North Carolina, who served on that committee in Durham and has filled an application, had it on file, and would like to serve on that committee. I have met with him and we discussed it. He has the information that he needs and he's willing to serve, and I'd like to make nomination.
Mr. Wilburn has a nomination. Do I have a second on the nomination?
Second.
Mr. Gooch seconds. Still any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have anyone else that wish to nominate someone at large?
Yes, sir, I also have that one.
Well, you're hitting 1,000 tonight. That's good.
Miss Sandra Bowden lives at 106 Daniel Street, had contacted me. She's actually in District 1, but she also had put an application on file, is retired and would like to get involved in serving on a committee. So I'd like to recommend her to be appointed as an at-large.
Mr. Wilbur has a large candidate. Is there a second? Second by Mr. J. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next one is the function of the animal control is to nominate Dr. Trudy Bowden, District 1, Michael Covert, District 3, and Robert Aslip, District 5, have resigned and need to be replaced. Commissioner Karan, I have a nominee for District 5. If you'll take it over.
Okay, we have a nomination from District 5. What's the pleasure?
Lisa Wilson is my nominee.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries.
Thank you. You take the rest of them. District 1. Do we have a District 1 or a District 3 appointee?
I'd like to appoint, I know she lives in District 3, Natalie, Roundtree. Living in District 3.
Mr. J has an appointment for District 3 for animal control. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Gooch, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can you just back up? Was that a District 1 appointment that lives in District 3, or was that a District 3 appointment for Sue?
I appointed.
Okay.
I have one for
Just checking.
I think Sue has one.
That's what I thought. Okay, just double checking. So
Yes, I have one for District 3. Her name is Colleen Fitzgerald, and she has applied, and I've spoken with her via text, and she's willing to commit.
Ms. Simmons has a motion for a candidate.
Second.
Second. Mr. Karen seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Is there anybody else? I think we got all three there. I think the board's been unable to meet, I think, or they needed a quorum. So those are some important actions there.
Mr. Chair, I have an appointment for the jury commission. It just came in this afternoon.
Okay.
And I'd like to appoint Mr. Adlai Stevenson Woodliff, 1690 Highway 96. Mr. Woodliff's better known as Pimbo. So now you know who I'm talking about.
So we have a motion for the jury commission from Mr. Gooch. And that's for the southern end, am I correct, Mr. Gooch?
Mr. Woodliff lives 2 doors down from the Brassfield Fire Department.
Okay, oh wow, that's good. Any other, second?
Second.
Mr. J, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Mr. Gooch. I know you've been looking for someone for a while for that, so thank you. County manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 2 quick things. One of which is to note that tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. is listening session number 4. We'll be up in Oak Hill at Camp Oak Hill tomorrow evening. First 3 sessions have gone well. They've been interesting, attended by a pretty wide variety of citizens, and I've enjoyed the interaction, enjoyed the questions, and I think I've learned something. I think the attendees have learned some things, and so I think they've been a productive set of listening sessions thus far, and I hope that will continue tomorrow evening in Oak Hill. Second item is just to mark the passage of time. Last year, on this evening, I was getting ready to go to bed and get up and go to work for the very first time in Granville County. It has been exactly a year since I came on board here as county manager, and so I wanted to offer up a few words of thanks. First to the commissioners who I have found really remarkably supportive and helpful, who have gently informed me if I was about to step in it and have been gentle with me if I already stepped in it. Appreciate, again, your guidance and your helpfulness and support. I also want to thank the staff of the county for the expertise and the effort that they bring to their work every day that helps keep Granville County afloat, and for bearing with me and with Granville County in what I think is a time of pretty significant change in our county government. And together I do think that we're making Granville County government a better place to work, and we're making this county as a whole a better place for all of our citizens to live and work. And I want to thank, there are not very many members of the community still left, but whether you're here or out there somewhere, I also want to thank the community. A lot of them have reached out in one way or the other over this first year, and they've welcomed me, and they've challenged me, they have invited me to come see, and that's been really valuable to me. I hope that you and I hope that they have found me interested in this community, because I am, and I hope that they have sensed my commitment to the community, which is strong. It has been a busy year, but a good year. And I think it's truly safe to say that it has been the most challenging and interesting and satisfying year of my local government career. So I'm grateful for all of that, and thank you very much. That's all I have for this evening.
I'm laughing because I'm sure I provided some of those challenges, so thank you. Are you going to go to do you have something for closed session tonight, County Manager?
We do have one brief closed session item for personnel.
Okay, and I will also add to that when we go to closed session a caveat. Okay, County Attorney, Mr. Wren.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
That's very good, Mr. Wren. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we will be going to closed session. Prior to going to closed session to discuss a personnel matter, and the language that was used by the county manager also is like to add that to consult with attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege hereby acknowledged. So we will cover that also, may be involved in that as also. And with that being said, I'll go to Commissioner Sue Hinman.
I'm going to pass this evening.
Ms. Hinman passes. Commissioner Cozart, he passes. Commissioner Karan.
Just really quick, I don't know if the rest of the board gets the NACO, National Association of Counties News. There's a story in here about counties reach out to diverse recruits to shore up fighter, and it's Wake County. The interesting fact that I found in this article was that the population of the United States, and I'm going to round here, math, in 1984 was 236 million people. In 2020, it was 329 million people, with a difference of 93 million people different. There are 200,000 less volunteer firefighters today than there were in 84. So 90 million more people and 200,000 less firefighters. So when we talk about fire services and where Granville County is and the retention and recruitment of firefighters and folks that are willing to rush into a burning building has dwindled. And obviously it's a national crisis. So Granville County is right there in it with it. And we are trying, just like all our counterparts, that the big weight counties of the world, to fill those slots. There's some innovative ideas here, including a high school firefighters program, which actually Wake County got 1,000 applications for 36 positions, which is pretty interesting. Hopefully that group of folks that took those applications seriously, I'll pass the drug screening, because I know that's one huge thing that we get with people applying for jobs is they don't even get to show up for the actual interview because they can't get through that spot. But good article. I encourage y'all to read it. I think we've got some work to do with our juniors program if we can get our volunteers to accept that, as well as using our high school students in a basic life-saving classes that are available. I know that some schools do a 8-week summer internship program where they actually put high school students, juniors, rising seniors through an 8-week course, and they come out with a it's basic life-saving skills credential, something I think we need to encourage here in Granville. So, interested in national news. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Karan. Commissioner Gooch.
No report tonight.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Zelodis J.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know where anyone tried to was listening to television this Sunday morning when I was getting dressed Sunday morning, and I think it was Talking Travel. I believe it was Talking Travel or something like that. But anyway, it was on. I looked up and I saw Mark from our library and Miss Helen Ames. They was on it this morning, Sunday morning. I wanted to tell them what to leave with that. We were proud of it. They was talking about the library on Granville Street. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Rob Williford.
Nothing tonight, sir.
I'll just take thank you, Mr. Williford. 2 quick comments. One is that our employee appreciation dinner is this weekend. So we look forward to recognizing our employees. Thank you, county staff, for putting that together. I'd like to piggyback on Commissioner Karan. Makes a great point. As you know, when Senator Bub was here, we met at Alltech and we got into a discussion about apprentice programs, and that apprentice program led to our school system going out to Surrey County, ascertaining some additional information. So this week we'll have an additional meeting with them on the CTE apprentice program that I think is going to open doors to other apprentice programs, such as potentially the juniors and the firefighter, because that's a concern. We do have a fire commission meeting on a Monday night. If I'm correct, I'll probably ask the county manager to attend, potentially, and did county manager, there was a number of items I sent to you. I know that you may or may not be working on them, but been bogged down, but it's ensuring that Mr. Rivas can have those items for us, working with Mr. McNally. To get those key items for that meeting there. I want to be able to show our firefighters the budgets in regards to the fire tax fund. I encourage all commissioners to attend that meeting. Those are very important meetings as they work on the next step of what they're going to do for the next funding year. And hopefully we won't have to have monthly meetings, and we can go back to every other month or quarterly meetings, but that's where we're at. So. With that being said, I need a motion to go into, and thank you all, everyone that came tonight, and all your department heads that stayed around. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for all your hard work. With that being said, I need a motion to go into closed session.
Make that motion.
Ms. Emmett,
Second.
any second? Second, I heard you, but I don't, who said it? Mr. Goot, second. And, all in favor? Aye. And then I'm gonna ask, that we're now in closed session, that we take a, 10-minute recess, for bio break and come back. All in favor? Aye.
Minutes of your time.
Going into open session now.
We rebid, got bids back in, got 3 good bids for the boardroom AV. That Chris has been negotiating the price down a little bit based on some bits and pieces that we probably didn't need. He was going over some of the details of this proposal, and there's one aspect of it that I really wanted to get commissioners' feedback on. These monitors are old PGA monitors. Really? They will be going away. So we did have some sort of new monitors were kind of baked in as a part of this. But a couple of things have become apparent. The new monitors that are available tended to be, like, it's hard to get small monitors at this point. And so there are a couple of options, 2 main ones that I want to talk to you about. There could be some that would be pretty flush and would attach to these walls on the inside and wouldn't stick out a lot. They might stick up some still above the edge of the...
You'll be able to see me.
I know.
We can call a seat.
So there still is the opportunity for, it would take up a lot less space and it would really be fixed to the wall. What the vendor has actually suggested to keep your eyes up. Again, we're going to be on video, right, more often, sort of following these AV upgrades, has suggested putting these are very high-def monitors, and much more high-def than what is on the screen here. So Chris has looked at them at the General Assembly, says they're very bright, they're easy to read. One would go there, and one would go there, and that, with that option, unless we had kind of a special circumstance or folks really objected to it, that's kind of where your screens would be. They would be on the back wall. Again, there still is this option for sort of flush-mounted monitors, more or less right in front of you. The way these are, just taking up less space. And so I didn't feel comfortable making that decision on my own. I wanted to see kind of how attached people felt to having a monitor in front of them.
So if we did the ones on the back, then our computers that a few of us are using could actually go right here. And we could use our computers, because we have the same stuff on the screens, right?
Well, I'm trying to think of whether you would be able to get that exact same feed.
You wouldn't be able to get the same feed they're getting, but if you had the presentation, you could pull it up. You could track the presentation, like
right.
The same presentation back there. You could take your little Chromebook.
That could be sent out to all of you rather than just to me.
Yeah, and then you could track.
Communities that would not have presentations by were presenting if they had something special. Those aren't incorporated in our slide deck.
Right. We try to incorporate as much as we can into the master deck.
Yeah.
Right. Not the ABC or.
I don't have a comment.
I've been to the one at Creedmoor where they got the things, and I know it's a lot smaller room and everything, and theirs are kind of like right here.
And they don't have anything in front of them?
I think they use their laptops, but it's to do exactly what we were just talking about. It's like a backup. It's like what Deborah would email out, and you would just spin through it. I don't know about you guys, but I use a book when I'm up here because it's going back and forth. Makes it, I have the papers right in front of me. I will tell you that they like the screens. Creedmoor likes their screens.
Well, when I was chairman, I had to have a paper because I had to have something to write on.
Yeah.
But when I'm not chairman,
Right.
I'm happy to have my baby laptop.
Yeah, okay. We all got those.
Honestly, it's pretty rare for people to have a slide deck that we don't have advanced notice of.
Right. Well, and that would still be, I think there would be a couple of ways that, I don't know if there was gonna be a chat here that they could hook into. I guest presenter who for some reason hadn't integrated their PowerPoint into our master deck.
I don't know what Jack wanted. I know that there's going to be a screen built in.
Right.
But I don't know if you mentioned that. I'm not sure that you want to fund
I don't care about it. I personally don't care about having to monitor. That's me, that's just me.
Right. Even
I
if you
look
think
on
about it.
Teams.
What's that?
I just look on Teams.
If you think about it right now, if somebody brings in just a random computer, there's also no way for them to
Project it anywhere.
connect either. So
Yeah.
either way, you have to figure something out, right?
Just like Elliot, he made a change. Just like Elliot, he made a change from his original to that, and so, but you were able to project it, right?
He sent us a new one in time for us to integrate.
Yeah, so what we do is we just, I mean, I would just say if you're gonna present, you're gonna provide.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I don't think it's good practice for us to have surprise presentations up on the screen that we haven't reviewed.
Right.
So anyway, again, there would be identical, that would be 4 big monitors, 2 that the audience can see, and 1 back there, and 1 back there.
Is that an astronomical?
You don't really have to be kind of craning too much to just see a screen, to notice you have a pretty straight shot to that one. Rob, right, and anybody kind of over on this side of the middle would look that way.
There's 10 monitors versus 2. Probably about the same. It's probably not that much difference in cost between 10 monitors and a big one.
That's, yeah, I'm not sure, we didn't see a kind of a really clear cost analysis, but you're right. 10 little ones and the
Yeah.
mounting work that we.
And honestly, we don't have a lot of room up here. So, like when you really want to spread out or start throwing stuff up, it's like,
Installing the monitors on the day as we were doing something, the cable and running that, that's what we are going to do. The cost of the service probably possible.
Right.
But it would rack up the cost of the development.
Mounting things on these rear walls is not too complicated. I just want to make sure that nobody was really attached to having a monitor right in front of them.
Oh, I just love it.
well, let me ask the clerk, because she's the one that's got to keep up with the most, but she's got her laptop. What's your thing? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there will be some control panels or kind of AV controls integrated in here. There'll be one between me and the county attorney, one between the clerk and the chair. Over here.
Does any of y'all have any hearing problems? Be honest.
Not yet. No, my wife says I do.
Zelodis, be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Does anybody got having hearing problems?
Each of your microphones will also have their
That was a classic.
I have hearing problem hearing her.
So I think there provides a Bluetooth type stuff to help us folks. We're all good. We're good.
That's actually a great question.
Would be like the
Audio would be channeled.
That was great.
Through Bluetooth.
Would be like the UN. We'll have a listener.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know that most do have it, it's very easy to.
Right.
What I think is told us is that maybe a speaker.
What?
It's integrated into
Let
my.
it go. What?
Okay. Makes sense.
So for now, and again, you can have your computer, you could be running the same PowerPoint. There'd be a variety of things you could do if you wanted something in front of you. You also have the paper version of most of the presentation. We're good? All right.
All right.
Make a motion that we adjourn unless there's anything else.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Hinman, second.
Second.
Mr. Williford, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.